We're live. Oh yeah.
Right, we're live, Neil. We are
How's
live on the
everybody
internet.
doing? How's everybody doing? Thanks very much for staying waiting for us.
12 people watching
12
live.
fucking people
12
watching live.
fucking people.
Fuck off.
So welcome everyone to episode 11 of Social Media Ruins Everything, Scotland's original thing. I don't think it's
Thing.
original anything, but you kind of, if you say original, it's like, oh right, it must be good then.
Well, I mean, it's a podcast. I think you can call it whatever you want. It's kind of a thing. We're a big deal. You know what I mean? And
Big,
we're a big deal.
big in the international community. Lime Tree Plastering called me out on his Instagram story because I referred to him as Lime and Tree. And I just replied with the kind of laugh emojis, but I'm thinking, mate, you've no idea. You've not. There is I don't know whether you feel it, but there's a bit of fucking pressure, right? Because we're sitting here, we're live on the internet. So there's people watching and listening live. It's and that when it's out there, isn't it? You're fucked. So it's really easy to make mistakes and kind of stumble over stuff.
There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure.
Although,
I've never really took it as pressure, but it's funny. This week seems as if it's been a lot longer than last
aye,
week. Do you not think so? I don't know if it's
that's a
because.
good shout.
Do you think so?
Aye.
Right. So I have a thing with time anyway. I have a thing with time that I think they've sped up time. The powers that be have sped up time, and maybe a year is about. We're doing a year in about 8 months. So we're time is going faster.
Okay. So where's your empirical evidence for this hypothesis?
Well, I don't have much evidence. They just shave off a few seconds like every minute.
Right.
So as our time goes on, we don't have nobody has watches anymore. All our watches are ran by the Illuminati, by Apple. You know, so it's like they could
Google.
just make the time whatever.
What about the sun though? Because like the sun still. What I've noticed is the
Doesn't matter.
sunset.
It's fake. The sun's fake. Sun's fake. Just forget the sun.
This is where we need Scotland's answer to Alex Jones, our good pal Andy, on because he would
Yeah.
explain what the sun actually is to us.
Well, he's in Kiev the day. Kiev. Yeah, he's in Kiev. Sent me some pictures and all. It looks fucking great. No, he doesn't live in it. No fixed abode.
He's
no
a
fixed
digital
abode.
nomad, isn't he?
Digital nomad. Just
Touring
about.
Billionaire.
Touring about. No, sorry, this week was that on you go?
No, I'm going off topic. I want to hear more about the time thing.
Oh no, it's just the time thing. That's basically it. I just think where maybe things have been sped up. Because look back at 5 years and like look at technology even 5 years ago. It's you know what I mean? I think there's been some stuff going on that we're no told about.
There is that big conspiracy theory about technology where humans were cutting about with horses and carts and all that, and then the combustion engine came along, but nothing nothing really advanced past that until like the 50s, and then Roswell happened, and then suddenly you've got microwave ovens and silicon chips and stuff, and then the next thing you know, the iPhone 13's getting announced.
So the aliens brought it. Aliens brought it.
Aye, they've done a deal. Aye. They've done a deal with the aliens. No, that is a conspiracy.
That's what they say. Well, like the oh, aye, humans, just anybody. Well, it's like Paul, the movie Paul. You know the film Paul.
I've never watched it.
You never watched it? That's a good film. Aye, it's good, man. Aye.
I started watching They Live yesterday.
Oh, fucking! That's
John
you've
Carpenter.
Went deep. You've went deep. See the fight scene. The fight scene. You
Don't
think it's
spoil
over?
I've heard
no. The fight. Well, I mean, amazing. It's like it just keeps going. Like, I was watching it with the boys. Like, is that it done? Oh, that's it. And then it keeps going, and the boys are like, "What the fuck is this film?" But they've only got an attention span of like fucking 12 seconds. You know what I mean? That's a good movie, man. Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper.
I didn't know because I obviously I thought I recognised him, but it's through the memes I recognised him, right? Because obviously he's in a lot of memes with the glasses and all that. So I looked it up. As soon as I start watching a film, I'm interested in right onto Wikipedia. I want to know where it was produced, where it was filmed, and all that. And I learned that he was a professional wrestler.
Who?
Not an actor. Piper.
Roddy. You know that. I knew that.
I didn't know that. That's what I'm saying.
Why did you know that?
Because I wondered why his acting was a bit wooden. And then obviously I learned that he wasn't actually an actor.
No, he's just a wrestler. That's a good movie though. That's alright. It's kind of, I like all that stuff. I'm into that, you know.
The best long fight scene in any movie ever is in Old Boy, the original Korean version. Have you seen it?
Old Boy. I've no seen the original Korean version. Old Boy was James Brolin.
I'm talking about the original one that came out.
But is that the same film, aye?
Aye, it's the same film. The Brolin remake was shite. I mean, the original Korean movie is amazing. There's two scenes in particular. The one where he goes in and he eats the live squid. And then the second scene is the fight sequence. Where I think, if I remember right, one of the extras who's a stuntman actually got stabbed in it.
Really stabbed?
Yep. So that's definitely worth checking out if you want to see a guy getting stabbed on film. I mean, you could just go down to Central Station on a Saturday night in Glasgow and film it yourself and then watch it back.
I don't know if people still get stabbed in the town, do they?
That was what my jury duty case was about a couple months back.
Oh, aye.
The guy got slashed in the face. Aye.
No way.
Do you want to tell the story of that, Cam, without perjuring yourself?
Have I gone into it before about the whole setup now with COVID and all that? I don't know if I have.
I think you mentioned it briefly. You were in a cinema.
Basically, you're just in a cinema and they've got cameras pointing at you. And on the very first day of the jury duty session, they bring up all the cameras and go, right, so yous are obviously being filmed so that the jury and so that the sheriff and that can see you. But it was just a surreal experience with your face on a on like a movie screen, and then all the random cunts next to you. It was just strange, man. And then obviously you couldn't really see what the guy looked like, and then all the evidence was pointing towards the fact that he was caught on CCTV, and the CCTV footage is really grainy, and the zoom quality is really grainy, and you're just kind of like, I don't know if he done it, man.
So basically, COVID got him off.
COVID got him off, but why is the tech so bad in these sort of things?
I don't know, man. But an aside, just quickly, he was also wearing his mask a majority of the time, and I think his defence lawyer had probably told him to keep the mask on because everyone else in the place had it off, but he had his on.
Brilliant.
That's fucking brilliant. But the tech thing gets me because I get done for shoplifting once, me and my brother.
Yes.
and the cameras are fucking ridiculous, right? So see if you're a workie, which people in this, anytime you go into B&Q, you did back in the day, let's say 5-10 years ago, when you went into B&Q back in the day, you would like get like 2 bags of sand, put one on the trailer, one on the trolley, and then throw like maybe a few tools and then throw another bag on top. Because it's always old guys that are in always old guys who are selling at the checkouts
With
in
the apron
B&Q,
on.
so they would never lift them. You'd just be like 2 of them. So we went in once, and I think it was a Friday night. We fucking must have went wild because they fucking like they locked the doors and all that. So we couldn't get away. And so I've went through to go and check out, and I've seen people running about, and I'm like, these people are running about. This is a bit weird. And I couldn't see Ross, my brother, at the checkout of that. And I was like, I said to the woman, I was like, do you see my brother who I came in with? He was here checking out. She went, oh no, I don't know. And I could tell on her face she was in on it, man, right? And the doors come down, right? He come this way. We're like, oh fuck, ended up in the wee office. But the police came and they were all like, the technology here is so fucking good. We've got you guys. Just tell us where the other stuff is that you've got. And we're like, yeah, if it takes that, we were saying that to the police, if it takes that fucking good, mate. You know, and then one policeman was all right, one was an arsehole. It was like, you can't remember where the stuff is. I was like, nah, I can't remember what I lifted, mate. And he's like, I remember what I had for my breakfast this morning. And then the other policeman was like, how much does a loft conversion go for? Just a normal size loft conversion, you know what I mean? Asking us to price a job while his mates fucking...
Did at any point did they unbuckle their belt?
I know, how bad you want off. Nah, it was just the tech thing was so bad, and I'm like, why the fuck? Even when you look now, it's like, why is the CCTV so fucking bad? You can have CCTV in your house; it's perfect. Yeah. But these big, massive corporations, maybe they want people to steal. Maybe there was one. The manager was going on about no getting his yearly bonus because of people like us. We were like, mate, it was fucking like a few wee things. It wasn't like it must have came to about 30 quid. We weren't like big robbers. We would just take a wee bit just for a laugh, you know, but then anyway, we got out to the car and Ross says, don't lift that fucking gutter pipe up. I was like, what are you talking about? Don't lift it up until they were out of eyes shot kind of thing. And then he lifted the down pipe up, and then all this fucking shit come flying out. We were like, you're fucking beauty, get up, yous. Then fucking up the road. But that's but just the tech just get better. Just get better fucking cameras, you know?
It's funny you talk about the police and the part of shite. See, anytime you watch a video where it's like a confrontation with particularly Police Scotland officers, their parters fucking shite, and they're trying to deal with wee street neds for Baillieston. You know what I mean? And they're, you know what I mean? And it's like, mate, they should have a module at the police training college on how to deal with wee neds for Baillieston or Barlanark. Because their partner's good and the police partner just can't compete. They can't compete.
Aye, man.
I remember what I had for my breakfast. It's like there's so many responses to that.
Aye. But
I remember what I had after I finished shagging your wife as well, mate.
It's just the way they go on and they like angry. And I'm like, mate, why are you being angry? It's like, come on.
It's a civil matter. Fuck off.
I know, we've stole some stuff. We were having a joke. We do it all the time we come in. You know what I mean? We do it all the time. Everybody does it. Every work he's done. We're like, fucking throw that in there. Sometimes
how
I
many
go
years
into...
ago was that? Because you've just admitted to it live on the internet.
I mean, no, I got done for it and that. I got done and I was banned for every B&Q.
Seriously?
Aye, but then
really?
I went in and then the next day I got the letter through and all that, you need to pay this, and it was a private company, like see the fine and all that, it's like a private thing. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I'm not paying that, get that to fuck. So I just ignored that. And I went into B&Q that day as well, and when I got the letter, and I was like, are we fucked, bud? What are they going to do? Put our face up on all the B&Qs? Don't let these guys. I was like, fuck off. So no, it was nonsense. But say to the police, like, we're just having a fucking laugh. We're just having a laugh, man. You know what I mean? We were stealing a few things.
Personally,
taking it as if I stole it off them. Aye, it's like there's rules, man, right? You can steal off a massive corporation like that, and that's totally fine. But you can't steal off normal people, you know, and that's just a basic universal law. That's like, common law, you know.
In America, I can't remember. I think California's got it. I think Portland's got it. Where if you shoplift items less than $500 in value.
I thought it was like $850. I think I know what you're talking about. You just walk out.
You just walk out, and there's actually videos of folk literally in like a Walmart, but they've got the loading trolley, like a basket style trolley, a low loader trolley, with stuff on it. and just walking up to the tills and just going, excuse me, and squeezing past folk, pushing the trolleys right out the door and loading. And when I watched, the guys had electrical cable, bales of electrical cable, and they'll go to this van and just were chucking the stuff in the back of the van and drove off.
That's it.
And nobody does anything.
Nobody cares, man. I think like on season 2 or something at Atlanta, you know that Atlanta, the show, Donald Glover done it on season 2 of that. They had that, and the guy knew. He was like, no, you can just walk in. They would just walk in and grab shoes and then just walk by the guys. And pretty funny. Pretty funny. Man.
Hey, Cam, should we jump into some comments?
See what they're saying.
Yep, there's a couple that's come through. I'll go back to a wee bit earlier when you were talking about They Live.
All right, okay. So, Ray Masterston says They Live is actually a documentary. You're right, mate. It is. It fucking is. What I've seen of it so far, I'm just over halfway through, and I was like, this is just like walking down the street in Glasgow. What else we got?
Job and Knock comes in with this.
Self-checkout is where you win. Swap them yellow stickers. Well, so
that's it's pretty funny. I used to work with an old guy with a self-checkout, and he used to call it, he says, I done a whoopsie the other night. And I'm like, what's that? This guy was like, he was 62 or something. When I worked with him, he says, I done a whoopsie. He says, what I've got, he says, I've got a 2-finger bandage. You know, the 2-finger bandage you get? He says, so I put that in my hand and go in. And what I do is I take the whoopsie off, because the whoopsie's got no weight. The whoopsie just goes through it, whatever it is. You know, in Asda, you have the code.
Yeah.
So he would put like something off a pack of ciabattas or something, put it underneath the 2-finger thing, and then he would run through a steak with his hand, like a big expensive shit, just beep his hand, his hands in. But that guy was I'll not talk a lot about him, but he was like, I eventually found out that he was real high end insurance fraudster type guy, and it was fucking
insurance fraud.
Oh, to the highest level that when you look at it, you think, when you heard about it, you were like, really? I never knew that was possible. It was fucking wild. I mean, I don't speak to him now, but one time I was in the bar, as you know, up at the end at Bill's Tool Store where the antiques bit is, and I was in, and he collected antiques, and one of his wee kind of insurance scams was he would buy like a tea set, like a full set, but maybe the back was chipped or something, so he would get a valuer to come up and take pictures of it the right way and then give him a Fugazi credit kind of thing, you know, how much it's worth, and then he would go and claim the insurance for them and say, no, the dog come in and run about and the cabinet fell and smashed all my shit, you know. So he would do that. But I seen him in the antique bit once. I was walking in and he was over here and I caught him out the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh fuck, there he is. And I just walked on, because we were on a job together, and he kind of really tried to fuck the people over, and I was like, nah, this has went just too far. I can't be a part of this. So it ended up, he left and we sorted it all out, and but I caught him and I was like, oh man. So I just kept walking, and then I looked round as I got up and he'd fucked off. So he never wanted to hang about. So I think the chances of getting him on this are very low.
It's a shame.
I mean, was that?
Oh, carry on. Insurance fraud.
No, I'm just saying insurance fraud would be interesting if somebody would talk about it, you know, because I think there's so much that goes on that's like at a crazy level, but nobody really talks. I think it's a massive fucking thing, but nobody really talks about it, man, you know?
I heard that insurance companies use special software to analyse the recordings of the calls when people phone up to make an insurance claim. And there's this software can analyse and determine emotional state and all that kind of stuff, almost a wee bit like a polygraph.
Yeah, like a polygraph.
For the audio of your voice, and it can pick up a likelihood of whether you're lying or not when you're making your claim. I don't know
if that works for Irish and Scottish people. I've heard that like the stuff that like a lot of body language stuff as well, because I've been speaking to people who I know and all that, and then the body language would say they're fucking whatever, full of shit or whatever, but they're not, because you know they're not. It's just a weird. I heard that Scottish and Irish people can't really be analysed like that. I don't know why. Go back to the comments then.
I'm thinking that over, because I think that makes sense, because we're weird. We've said this for day one on this. Like a Scottish person's probably harder to read as well.
Maybe hard to read. I just don't think they can get...
look like we're always fucking raging. Mate, what's up with you? What are you talking about? You look fucking... What are you growling at? I'm smiling. I'm fucking smiling. Look, I'm fucking face, I'm smiling.
But it's like when you go anywhere, you're in the rolling sausage shop,
I caught
right?
myself, man, and that was fucking. I've never seen myself doing that face before. If you're listening to the podcast, you need to check out the live stream. My face that looked like something from They Live.
It's sometimes if you're in a rolling sausage shop though, and like a guy like walks by you, and it's like, sorry, man, fuck you. You're like, fuck it, they're just so rough, man. Like, see if because I live up here and you're out the road, and I was in the town the other day, and it's just the and I'm like, fuck, it's like he's not that rough, but it's rough, you know, and you're like, fucking hell, man. They communicate that way. It's fucking wild, man.
My dad was brought up in Postle Park back in the 50s and into the 60s. And he's a lot. He's 78. He was round earlier on today. So my dad's 78. My kids have never really. My kids didn't know my dad the way I knew him growing up. But my dad was fucking. He had one of the voices like that, and he always sounded fucking raging. He always sounded really, really angry. And when you're a kid, it was fucking disturbing because there was no kind of like you couldn't tell. And I think that maybe goes back to what you're saying. It's how do you get a read on a Scottish person? Like, I mean, children can't.
But I mean, exactly, because like we're in the house and the doors were open. My back door was open, I think, and we were all shouting. But it was normal chit chat for this house. It's no like wild. It's just no wild to us. But I was thinking the neighbours can't hear it because they would think we were fucking. We were really bad to the boys or that, you know, or we just really no nice the way we talk to each other. But it is nice. It's just no the way normal people would. No normal people would. Just the way people communicate, you know. There's a lot of real fucking calling each other up names, like real hardcore names, which is a good laugh as well. I'm just trying to bring the what?
There's a disturbing trend with my kids, and I think we're kind of getting a handle on it.
But no way on you baldy bastard.
No, it's worse than that. That's nothing. That's fucking water off a duck's back. That I don't know how it started, but my kids call each other pedo. And it's just like one of them will say something, another one will go pedo, and it's ridiculous, and it drives Mary around the bend when she hears it going on. She goes, "You need to stop that." I mean, and she'll give me into trouble. And then of course I take it too far. I start making up wee tunes, wee songs, like wee nursery rhymes about pedos, and then. And Cam knows what I'm talking about. Fergus has got his ukulele, so I went through the other day and I'm like with the ukulele and I'm like trying to figure out a wee chord, and then I start playing a wee ukulele song about pedos. What was the other thing? I'll regularly say, my youngest is cottoned on to it now, but I'll go, Ferg, wait till I tell you this, and he's like, you know, the wee kids are like, what is it? I'll go, I was down at the shop the other day, taking it to the shop to get milk the other day, and I passed the school. And there was all these pedos hanging about outside the school. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing hanging about? And they're like, we're just coming down to just hang around. And he's like, Dad. And I can get him a couple of times. If I leave it for a few weeks, I can get him. Fergus, wait till I tell you this. What? So I don't know how that started, but it's like what you were saying. If your neighbours were to hear you,
like
what the fuck's going on in that house, man?
The
chat.
That's it, man. But the pedo stuff might be like kind of getting universal because the boys, like we'll drive by. There's pedophiles in this village. They're older and they're nearly dead and that. But they've been like, you know what I mean, they move up here to get away from it all, and they are like anybody who moves in. See if new people move in and they've got a daughter or that. I'll like get the link to the court records and I'll be like, all right, how's it going? Just this is the guy who lives in there. Just watch. Don't like let him babysit your daughter or that, you know. And they're like, oh really? I'm like, I know it's true. I've said to other people who live here, all right. I've says, did you hear about him? And they're like, nah, I never. It was, and I says, no, that's the wrong story. You've been told their story that makes them look like he's just a bit of a pervert, but that's the story there, and you give him the court hang and all that, and they're like, oh, really? No. And then I see them talk. I'm like, hey, why are you talking to a guy? Anyway, that's the thing. But the pedo thing's funny because anytime we're driving and you drive by them, all you hear in the car is, pedo, fucking pedo. And it's just all the time. But there was one time, I think there was a new school teacher came in and the boys would tell me that the new school teacher came in, he never really knew. So I think some of the kids, the older kids, had went to say to the teacher, there's a paedophile that keeps walking up and down the school, which he did. He used to walk by, but I don't think he was right in the head. So he used to walk by the school and all the kids the teacher had to bring all the kids in because they were all going mental, running about, saying there's a pedo. Like, you know, if a dog jumps into a primary school, everybody goes mental, run about. It's like that, and all the fucking kids were running about, there's a pedo, and they
But
had
is
to
he
pull
actually a
them in.
pedo, or is it just a reputational
No,
thing?
no, he's a pedo. No, he's a
Is he
pedo.
actually
Like, you can find the
convicted?
court. You can find the
Jesus,
court
man.
stuff and all that.
What
And he
Goyle
goes,
House sounds more and more unappealing by the day.
oh man, the
If it's
scenery's
not the
nice up
rich
here.
cunts that have moved up there, it's the deranged pedos.
The scenery is nice, but that's about it, man. It's like it's a hard place to live, man, and get on with people. And not get on with people. It's just a hard place if you want to speak to cool people. You know what I mean? There's no many. It's weird, but what can you do?
I think there's two stories we need to cover off on the next members only. One of them is the time you nearly get to jail for calling somebody a cunt. We've hinted that before. We need to cover that off.
Oh,
And
well, I
we
think
also-
a guy was talking to me the other day, and I think he was. I don't think he believed me when I told him because he get
So we-
banned off Facebook. You
Aye.
know,
Oh,
I
that's
think he believed me.
listen, man, that's nothing getting banned off Facebook. If you've not been banned off Facebook, something up with you. No, we need to cover that off in our members only, and also the story as to how you ended up living in Glock Right? Don't
Aye.
attempt it now. We'll save it, and we'll
Oh,
do it in
aye,
our
aye.
members only coming
It's
up.
no
Right?
one interesting. None of them are interesting anyway, but whatever.
Make some up.
We'll make it interesting.
We've got to
We'll
make it up. So
interesting.
we'll give a shout out to our one and only patron on patreon.com. That is Scott Porterfield. He is a producer of this week's show. So you can head over to patreon.com/SMRE. Over there, you're going to find, look at the state of that fucking thumbnail, man. What, I'm looking like I'm having a stroke. I look like I'm mid-stroke. So there's live videos. There's 2 live videos up there. One of them's nearly 2 hours. The other one was 2 hours 40 minutes. I think I caught a glimpse of Scott in the chat for today's live video saying that the content's good. So that's Scott saying it from the horse's mouth, Neil. That's one of the producers saying it's good. If you want to become a producer, you can be an associate producer, a producer, or an executive producer. Head over to patreon.com/SMRE. Cam's actually on the wrong window now, Cam. That's the login. That's like the behind the fucking scenes.
That's behind the
stuff.
scenes.
This GDPR stuff, Cam. It's GDP. Get the fuck off that. Quick, get the fuck off it. No, I'm only kidding on. It's not too bad. Another place, if you want, there's a number of different ways you can support the podcast. Now, as I've made it abundantly clear several times, this is the most important thing in my life. And I think Neil's gradually starting to come round to that for himself. I know he's had the talk with the kids and Gemma, and he's like, listen, the pecking order needs to be established. Don't bring that screen up either, Cam.
No.
Just leave it up for me, right? And I'll read it out. So we're starting to, our families are starting to come to terms with the fact that we live for Wednesdays, and particularly Wednesday nights, where we can get to hang out with our friends on the live chat and talk a lot of shit for a couple of hours. We're our internet friends, So a number of different ways you can support the podcast. We've got big plans for it, which we will talk about tonight, because we've got a very important meeting tomorrow that we'll get to. So one of the main ways you can support the show is right now, if you're watching the video, like the video, just hit like right away. Right, that's massive. There's only 2 likes on it, but I don't know how many people are watching. There's more than 2 people watching, so like the video. Another great way you can support the podcast is to subscribe on YouTube. So if you're watching just now on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button, dead easy. And if you're listening to this, that means you're already a podcast listener subscriber. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. You don't even need to leave the screen that you're listening to this on. You're about to just tap 5 stars, give us a rating. So a couple of folk have liked the video just after me saying that. That's fantastic. Let's get up to 90 subscribers tonight, Neil. We're sitting at 88. It should be easy to get to 90.
It's like a telethon.
Aye. We've got to do it, though. We've got to do it.
Okay.
This is the most important thing in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
carry on.
No, I was just saying. I was just saying it's. I never shared much of this stuff this week because I got blocked out for a bit of the Instagram because you don't know the password. My website, you have a website and it has the Instagram bit on it, and it wasn't updating. So anyway, you got locked out, but it's kind of nice. See if you're locked out. I got back in. Obviously, it was fine, but it's nice if you have a wee break for that. Have a break for the social media. It's quite nice.
Social media detox is a very, very healthy thing. It's healthy indeed.
Because we've been on quite a bit for the past 2 months, man.
Aye. Yeah. Last Thursday, excuse me, last Thursday was a bit mental. So we did it was a monster marathon show, 2 hours 41 minutes. We were on live for, and then I think you and I and Cam were on for about another half hour after that, talking, and then I rewatched it like a tragic. I mean, you're just as tragic to me because you messaged me to say that that bit was quite funny, wasn't it? So you rewatched it as well, but I don't think you rewatched all of it. I did, and it was after 1 a.m. before I got to bed, and then the next morning, I was awake because I had the dog. I'll maybe talk about why I had the dog for the week later if I remember. But I was up at 6:30, so I'd had about 5.5 hours sleep, and I worked from 6:30 in the morning through until 6:30 at night, cutting up the clips. Because it was 2 hours 40 minutes worth of content I had to go through to cut up the clips to go up onto the channel. And then I get an email from our newest supporter at buymeacoffee.com/SMRE. That's Dawn. So thank you to Dawn for chipping in last week. But she sent me an email about work stuff, and then she's like, and where the fuck's the podcast? And I'm like, whoa, wait a wee minute, I only recorded it fucking last night, and I've been really busy all day. But I thought, no, fair enough. So I got the audio ready. I'll get that put out last Thursday on the podcast feed because she was working from home. And she says, I was looking forward to listening to it. She actually says she looks forward to listening to it. Now, I've advised her to get help.
I was just going to say that.
We look forward to doing this, but that's because we're incredibly sad men with beards. But it's nice to get a bit of feedback with people saying they look forward to
That's
listening
pretty
to
good. When does audio go out? I've not listened to just audio.
So I tend to try and put the audio out on a Friday, and it will be Friday this week because tomorrow Cam and I are at a photo shoot at some engineering place.
He's modelling?
No, we're not. No, unfortunately.
He's behind the camera.
Behind the camera. And then the three of us have got a very, very important business meeting, a very important podcast business meeting. Shall we talk to folk about what we're going to be doing?
Aye, talk to them, aye. Talk to the people. Talk to the people.
So we're going to look at studio space, Neil. Studio space for this podcast. Because our dream, our goal, our aspiration, the driving force in our collective lives right now is to create the best podcast we possibly can. And we feel we're doing a reasonable job given the fact that you live 2.5 hours away from...
I don't live 2.5 hours away for you.
Well, that's how long it took me to drive to
I
your
know,
place.
aye. All right, okay.
So
well, 2.5.
How long does it take you to get down
It's
here?
only about 60 miles.
Really?
60 miles. Aye. It's not that far. It's 2.5 hours is an awful long.
I don't think it's as long as well, it took us so long because you had to go for a massive pish when we were driving down.
A massive pish. How a 20-minute long pish.
I'm nearly 50, Neil. That's what happens.
Oh, that's aye.
Aye. So we feel we're doing the best we can, right, with this, and we do get great feedback, and we are genuinely grateful. And it isn't going to our heads. I saw a wee comment for somebody joking about it's going to our heads. Scottish folk, it doesn't fucking go to your heads, right? It doesn't, because we fucking hate ourselves. And we've always got folk round us that are fucking... What are you going to say?
I think they know. I think they knew, but maybe they never. I think they were kidding on, but I would hope. Sometimes you say stuff. Sometimes I posted a thing once, and I was getting these messages on Instagram for like grown men, like join us, and they were like, "Oh, don't worry about it, mate," and all that. Because there's a guy who messaged me. Is this old guy? I'm sure he's a swinger, and he messages me like, "All right, Tranny, how we doing today? All right, Gaylord," and sends me the rainbow emojis and all that, and I'm like, "Aye, I'm all right." And then he does all that. I don't know why he does it. It's a problem he's got. I think he's like, he sends me like pictures of women and say, "There you go, she's a lesbian, but she's for me." And he's just, I think he's old and he's no there in the head. But I'd screenshotted what he messages me, you know, because he messages me all the time, and people were like, "Oh, I don't," because I'd put like, "It's okay, I'm a joiner and I don't get offended," or something like that, and people were like, "Oh, don't worry about it, mate." I was like, I was joking. I should have fucking said I was joking about that, you know. Fucking weird.
Aye.
Fucking weird. Is it like people thinking you're serious, you know?
Aye, we're not serious. I mean, I had a wee chat, a quick phone call with Mary. So I've only seen Mary once in the last week, which is the longest we've ever gone without seeing each other. But that's because she's had fucking COVID, and now our sons get COVID. So I was just like that. I'm not really wanting, and she was like, "Listen, don't come over. I'm really not well and all that." And I was like, "That's fine." And I went over yesterday because I thought she was past the worst of it, but she kind of wasn't, and her son wasn't well, and I was supposed to stay, and it was kind of like 7 o'clock, and I was kind of like, and she was like, I think I'll just go back over the road. I was starting to get psychosomatically no well. I was getting COVID psychosomatically sitting, you know what I mean? And as soon as I left, I was like, no, I'm actually fine.
I think that's how most people are getting COVID.
But do you know what? You could be right. But anyway, she said to me, I spoke to her on the phone, and it must be COVID brain, but she's like that. Don't be saying all this stuff about being an international podcaster. And I'm like, well, it's for one thing, it's a joke. And the other thing, it's kind of true because there's folk listening from around the world, but we are just bamming, man. We don't take ourselves... We take the making of this podcast as serious as we can because we don't want to produce shite. It's not who we are, but we don't take ourselves seriously. But we need to get back to the subject of the studio.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at a studio tomorrow, and basically we're just going to be fucking wasting the poor guy's time. Because we can't fucking afford it yet. But patreon.com/SMRE, buymeacoffee.com/SMRE. But what we're doing is we're getting ourselves into the headspace, aren't we, Neil? Where we're going to be like, right, our goal is to have a space like this where every Wednesday the two of us will be in the same room. We produce our cam. We'll have fucking 3 cameras, right? It'll be a 3 fucking camera feed, live switching. It'll be the absolute bollocks. It'll be amazing. So we're getting ourselves in that headspace tomorrow. We've got our photo shoot in the morning, and then the 3 of us are meeting up, and we're going to go and see a space.
Should be good fun. Should
we'll
be good
take
fun.
some photographs and stuff for on the behind the scenes over at patreon.com/SMRE.
Aye.
Because we put behind the scenes stuff up there.
Aye, right, okay, aye. Aye, cool. No, it should be good fun, man. It should be good. I think we'll see what it's like. See what the guy's chat's like. We'll try and talk him down, you know.
And I want you to tell me the psychological warfare you're going to use on him, right? But just before we do that, where we're going to see this studio, I fucking had a studio there for a couple of years, and it only cost me £300 a month, and it was a massive space, and it was amazing, and then I let it go.
Oh, aye.
And it's like a massive regret now. Because it was fucking perfect for this. Perfect.
Did you just go and do something else?
I got divorced.
All right, okay. Well, there you go. That kind of puts a spanner in the works a lot.
Kind of high. So, like, tell us about your psychological warfare.
No, well, it's just stuff that I was trying to do. And when I say to you today, if we go and see this guy, I will try some psychological kind of warfare. No, it's not even psychological warfare. It's just trying to hold yourself talking to somebody for as long as you can before they crack. The other day we're in Asda, and I go up to, so the Asda's all been, I don't know if Asda near you has been renovated, but the Asda near me has all been renovated.
Don't know.
And Dumbarton. So, but Asda do pizzas that they can cook to take away.
Yep.
Which are quite nice. They're nicer than the normal ones that you would buy that they make for you. So, so you know them then, right? So
I'm familiar with them. Yes,
you're familiar with them. So I was there. Yes, I'm familiar with those. So I was there, and I says to the woman, Gemma was picking up pizza, so I'm standing there watching the women make a pizza, and I say, "You cook game in here to take away now?" And then she says, "Aye, we do." And I'm like, "You's never used to, did you?" And she says, "Nah." And I'm like, "All right." I says, "Well, we had friends up at the house the other week here, and they brought one up, and it was pretty nice." And she says, "Aye, they're pretty nice." And I'm like, "Aye." I says, "Aye." I says, "Well, it was my wife's birthday and that, so like it was my cousin who came up. She's friendly with her and all that." And she's like, "Oh, that's right." So you just keep going on and on and on. But that woman never cracked. I had to go. Gemma says, "Right, let's go," you know. So she just kept. I just went on, man.
She won.
No, I don't know if it was one. It was like when I was going, I was like, "See you later. I'll see you next time. I'll fucking see you next time. I'll get you fucking in." But nah, it's just.
What did you expect to happen?
I expected that. Well, I go out. Well, see when you go out into Asda and stuff like that. See people that don't wear masks in shopping centres and stuff. They're mainly like people who are on the spectrum or something like. So it's like that you're walking about, and it's as if I find my own people. So I'm walking about like, all right. So it's as if Gemma's my carer and she's taking me out for the day. So when I spoke to that woman, I'm wearing the mask and I'm standing there, and we're having this chat, and the way I'm speaking to her, it's as if I'm no all there, you know what I mean? And I'm just talking. So
Did you have the bonnet on?
No, I had my hood up. I had a hat and my hood up.
Even fucking
exactly.
Did you have your lanyard?
Ears poking out the sides.
Ears out the sides of the hoodie.
Yeah, ears out the side. So
Do you cook the pizzas in here now? Do you put the cheese on it first?
Does that cheese melt? Does that melt? It's really nice. I want to go to a point where they need to tell you to leave, but it's really uncomfortable for me. But I'm going to practice more and more as I go, because it's always when I'm out with Gemma, and it's fucking hilarious because she doesn't like it at all, and it's funny if she's there because I want to get to the stage where she hates it so much that she needs to say sorry. I took him out for the day, like that. You know what I mean?
Arm and lead you away and all that. Sorry, missus. I'll just get him back in the van.
Exactly like that. But so I think we could do that with the guy.
We need to try that tomorrow.
I think it never worked because it was on a woman. Women love that kind of chat. But see if tomorrow, for example, you use that chat on the guy.
That's a good point.
The guy's gonna just end up going, yeah.
I'll give you it for 200 quid a month, mate. Just fucking take it. I need to go. I've got other appointments.
And then he'll get in the car and go, fuck's sake, man. Oh, what have I fucking done, man?
But we were talking about it earlier on, and it's like, it's a pity we don't have stock of merch, right? Because we could have rolled in like a couple of ballers, handing out hoodies and stickers and all that to the guy at the door. And there you go, mate, there's a wee hoodie, take it up the road for the missus and that. Listen, no bother. And act like total rollers, man. And the guy would be, as you said, they'd be like, who are these guys? Are they on Netflix? Do they have some sort of show? Because I've told them what it is that we're doing. I told them on the phone it's a podcast.
Oh. Well, that's even better, because now when we go in, we can be like, okay, yeah, we've got a podcast and that. Do you know what a podcast is? What's your favourite podcast? And then just wait, I quite like that podcast. See, Mark, he doesn't like that podcast. He's a bit of a snob with the audio and stuff like that. So would you? And just fucking run him into the ground, man, you know? It's kind because it's a different negotiation, because you're not being nasty. You're not like trying to beat him down. You're coming in like your brain, a level above brain dead, and just try to ease your way in, you know? It's an interesting way just to try and see how it goes, but it's uncomfortable. I find it uncomfortable. I find it uncomfortable talking to them like that. But
why don't we get Cam to follow us about with a camera, like we're like Cam Milligan?
Yes,
just say, sorry, mate. Listen, we've got our videographer with us. Obviously, this will be going out on the members only, patreon.com/SMRE. You should check it out, mate. You might go out and enjoy seeing yourself.
Listen, mate. Just hand us over the keys, and we'll give you 2 guest shows a week, completely free, but in this area here.
Tell what we'll do, mate, right? Listen, tell what we'll do. I know what you're charging rent per month, right? We get it, that's fine. What we'll do is, right, you waive the rent. We'll give you a shout out on the podcast. You can't, mate, that's priceless. That's fucking priceless, a shout out on the podcast. We've got a fucking room full of degenerates every Wednesday night who will not give a single fuck about your properties, but you'll get a shout out to them.
All we need to do is hand the guy a coffee and then go, lot of love being shown today, mate. Lot of love being shown today.
Oh, we should play him rock, paper, scissors for 3 months free rent.
It'd be even that. This is what I'm talking about. It's even turning up to him like, right, mate, come on, big man. Rock, paper, scissors, 3 months free rent. Let's go, right? And then do just that. But getting into that sort of mindset and that character is really, it's uncomfortable for me. But I think if you do it and you end up like a Kaz Milligan sort of guy. You know what I mean?
So what are you wearing tomorrow? What are you going to be rolling up in?
Oh, I don't know. I'll need to think about that, man. I'll need to put some thought into it.
Full hipster.
I like turn-ups and the denims.
Turn-ups, your Red Wings, bring the tennis ball. Just roll the tennis ball, and that's your thing. That's your thing. And don't mention it. Never draw any reference to it. Just be standing there rolling a tennis ball.
Throw it against the wall every now and then and catch it.
Every now and again, and then throw it to the guy. There you go. Hey. Fucking get it back.
Obviously, we start the pitch off as well by going, guy who says gives us 3 months says what? And he'll go, what did you say? Oh, that's you. You need to give us
3 months free rent, mate.
It's just because it's funny just seeing how far you could. It's like the people who go into like the pound store, pound shop, and ask people how much is that, and just keep going, you know, until. But it's kind of it gets to an uncomfortable stage. But I think once you break through that, you can see a whole different side of you. You know what I mean? And it lets you in. You need to test it sometime. You need to test it.
Well, tomorrow's our opportunity. And you never know, guys. This time next week, we could be coming at you live from SMRE Central. And the Glasgow Green area of Glasgow. Listen,
What's
it'll be cool, man.
Oh, it'll be cool. What's the audio like? And do you think the audio would be good? And you need to fit it out. No, you need
Well,
to
do
do
you know
all
what? This is what I did a live on Instagram earlier on, and Howling Interiors. I don't think he's in the chat yet. He says,
I think he's actually Iron Brew's life.
well, we'll need to talk about that in a wee second because that guy's getting his balls kicked. Because he's been disrespecting me in the chat, Neil. He's been fucking disrespecting me in the chat. Howling Interiors jumped onto my live because I was doing a fucking, as I mentioned last week, I always do a wee live before the show and a wee talk about the setup. And he asked if I didn't use the foam stuff to create a bit of sound insulation. And I was explaining with these microphones, you don't need it. Even in a wet room where there's a bit of echo, these mics, because they're dynamic and they're quite directional, you don't tend to need it. So to answer your questions, the audio would probably be all right. But, you'd need to have like some chairs and rugs and stuff like that just to kind of create
a neon light. A neon light and
light.
Stuff. Ambience.
Aye. So in the chat, what do you guys think? Should we be aiming to get a studio where we are in person? The three of us in person every Wednesday night, recording. You can let us know. Right, Cam, let's have a wee chat about Iron Brew as life.
So first of all, he tries to roast you and gets it wrong. So that's a shame. And then he comes in with this.
So basically, he wants to know if the podcast is getting in the way of our Patreon advertising. That's a good point. That's a good point. Listen, man, we're hustling. We're a couple of whores. Neil and I. If it's not him pushing his merch, it's me pushing the Patreon. But he mentioned something to me, something about me having. He says, Mark, have you ever been a chemistry teacher in America and got cancer? And worked
That's very
in
specific.
A car wash with a guy called Derek. So he's trying to say that I must look like Walter White or something like that.
I never even picked up on that. I was like, that's super specific, but obviously Walter White.
Who else we got in the chat? Here we go. Rob Simpson. I was hoping we would see you have a stroke on the private videos. A stroke? Now, what sort of stroke are we talking about? One that is due to the blood being cut off to your brains, or are we talking about the other type of stroke? You fucking pervert. It's not OnlyFans.
He's talking about masturbating, I think. Well, see, and he's obviously a male as well. There was something I posted about... sometimes he's on Chestnut, Nathan Chestnut, Nate Chestnut. He posted a story saying he was representing the Scottish LGBTQ influencer or something, and he had a jumper on, mine, and then I shared it, and I had 2 gay followers send me the crying emoji. There was one.
Crying with laughter or crying with sadness?
There was one guy who I don't know if he's gay or no, but there was 2 that I know who I speak to a lot who sent me the crying emoji.
Why?
Which I don't know. I don't know if they were annoyed or disappointed or whatever. I don't know. I just thought, all right. But then there was one guy who sent me the crying emoji, but I don't like speak to him a lot of that, so I don't know. But I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe they were just upset. I don't know. People get upset with stuff like that. But it wasn't even a bad thing. He was just saying he was representing the Scottish.
Justin Trudeau, he was trying to say LGBTQ2, whatever it was, and he was like, he was like on a fucking stroke on camera trying to fucking say it. So were they not upset about that?
No, I don't know. But what was that guy saying? No, I don't think that. I never worked out what he said. What Justin Trudeau, if he was for it or against it. He just keeps going on and on. I'm sure that guy's. I think he's fit for the job anyway.
Well, they've just done that kind of mad vote thing, haven't they?
Oh, what for?
You're laughing at the comments?
No, I'm just laughing at me saying I don't think he's fit for the job. He's the fucking president, you know what I mean? I'm a joiner for Look Oil. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think he's fit for the job. Come on, get him off.
But all these photographs of him have surfaced of him in blackface.
Well, that's
he loves a blackface.
At least you've never done blackface, Neil.
Aye, that's it, man. I mean, that's... I was thinking that about Janie Godley with her cancellation. I'm just waiting for the selfie when she's down at the Londis, you know what I mean, with the 3 guys behind the counter. These are my mates. I'm all right with these. Tell them that I'm all right, you know. I don't know. I don't know. Politics is a weird one, man. Politics is fucking weird.
Well, we touched on politics last week, but it's not something that we're going to do regularly. I think because you and I don't give a fuck.
I think it's like anybody, people without a personality can talk about politics and then call it a show, but all they've done is just spoke about fucking bullshit that means nothing,
What most people
Unlike the
talk about when they think they're talking about politics is politicians.
aye.
Right, and basically when you talk about a politician, it's like school kids talking about their teacher. Right, their teacher's paid by the parents through the local authority to be there. Politicians are paid by us through taxation to be there. And you're not actually talking about politics, the nuances of politics, the science of politics. You're talking about politicians, and that's just silly. You're talking about people who you have paid to do a shite job at something, and you're talking about how he's no shite at doing it as your one.
It's sports. It's like sports now. Everybody's jumping on. It's like sports.
Your teams.
Aye. It's all teams. That's all we all. It's like we all cheer, man. We all cheer. I don't cheer. I don't fucking care. It's like people tell me to vote as well. I'm like, honestly, I don't know if it does anything. You can't have a say. Well, what fucking say has anybody got and you vote? Oh, I've got a say because I voted. I don't even know. I don't even know if it works, man.
There was a fucking election in Scotland. Was it May? And now in Scotland, there's a joint political thing between the SNP and the Greens. Who voted for that?
Some people get right into it, man. Some people get into it. It's fucking. Some people get into it. I just don't understand it. How people get so into it, they're talking about it, and I'm like, really? You really give a fuck about this? You can tell people don't care. I just listen to these fucking people, like fucking 25-year-olds. I'm not that much older. I'm 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, but it's like 25-year-olds. It's like, fuck off. What the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? The fuck it's like, it's just fucking.
See, when you were 25, and I know when I was 25, but I'm sure it was the case when you were 25, which wasn't that long ago. Who the fuck cared in your generation about politics? But now it's cool and it's trendy to talk about politics. I blame Barack Obama. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We said that a few weeks ago, didn't we? He made it trendy.
This is not who we are.
Fucking hell.
Is he on? If we patched him in for Air Force One.
Right, there's a comment there from Lawrence Winterburn Cam. He wants to know why in the YouTube comments you can't post pics. I'll tell you where you can post pics, Neil. Patreon.com/SMRE. You can post pics over there. Yeah. There's comments. There's a section for comments there on the videos, and you can post pics there. Starts at £3 a month plus VAT. Here's the cool thing about Patreon, right? And I'm going to mention this next week as well. When you sign up for Patreon, and Scott Porterfield will back me up on this, when you sign up, you don't pay anything until the 1st of the month. So if you choose to sign up on the 2nd of October, you get a whole month free before you need to pay. That's good.
That's quality.
It's really good.
Fucking great. It's great. What have we got?
Content-wise?
Aye, what have we got? We got anything to talk about on the? Have we got anything on the thing?
How long have we been going for? What time is it? We're going for nearly
I don't know. Tell me.
Fucking hell. You're right about the time thing. It's just fucking flying. Right, listener Andy, the electrician, is wondering why only fat people buy hot tubs.
Yeah.
So in the comments, you can let us know your thoughts on that. Neil, what are your thoughts on?
Why is it only fat? I mean, I'd like a hot tub, and I'm a fat person, so I could. It's just because I'd like it, I think. Is it fat people? That I've only experienced fat people in hot tubs if I've been away at a hotel. They love to do that and love to. It's like always a husband and wife. The husband's kind of skinny, the wife is very large, and she's wearing a kind of wee swimsuit. She's over 50, 60, and then they're always in. So I don't know. I think it's a swinger thing, though, isn't it?
Don't know. We need to ask our boy. Who's the swinger in the chat again?
Rob Cassidy.
Yeah. Robert Cassidy. Is it a swinger thing, hot tubs?
I think it is, but that's how there's fat people. But it's an interesting. I don't know. Is it interesting? I don't know.
Iron Brew is life in the chat, who we all surmise is Howling Interiors, right? He wants to know if you can cancel the Patreon before the 1st of the month too. You can. Of course you can. But you'll still be fucking charged. Right, there's an article I found during the week. I'll just quickly preface why or how I found it. Do you remember that meme thing the rapper guy, Man's Not Hot. His rapper name is Big Shaq. Man's Not Hot, and he had that rap track. It was like 2 + 2 is 3 - 1. No, 2 + 2 is 4 - 1 is 3. Quick maths. Remember all that? Big
Right.
Shaq.
I don't know that. I've never.
Right.
It's no ringing a bell.
Some of the listeners or viewers will know who I'm talking about. So anyway, he started out as a character in a YouTube sketch show. And you and I have spoken off air about that, like People Just Do Nothing. It's a really funny BBC comedy, but it started out as a YouTube sketch show. So this character, Big Shaq, has got a really, really strong way of talking with this kind of like, fam and blood and Mandem. Right, it's another language. So I was like, I googled Mandem. What does Mandem mean? And I ended up on a BBC website. BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, has a very helpful article entitled 17 multicultural London English words and what they mean. And I thought, this is educational and informative, and that's partly what we're trying to do here on the podcast, Neil, is to provide some light entertainment on a Wednesday night or whenever you listen, but also some education. So let's go through some of these words. Blood is an alternative to mate. It's thought to originate from blood brother. So that's good. I love the specificity of this definition.
Young blood.
It's thought to originate from blood brother, though the term isn't just used for brethren. Ooh. But anyone who is a close friend. Bruv or brethren are handy alternatives. So if you want to make a wee note of that, folks, blood. So tomorrow morning when you're at work, it's tea break time, you can say to your mates, yo, blood, do you want a cup of tea? Okay, number 2, ends.
Ends? Never heard of that.
For example, food in the ends like there ain't no drought, which is apparently lyrics from a Stormzy track. Oh. Ends means your area or the neighbourhood you're from.
Right.
Okay, ends. So your ends are Loch Goylehead.
Oh, so it's like
where do all the pedos live? Aye. Where do all the pedos live? They live down them ends, blood. So we're starting to build a sentence with multicultural English. Third one is waste man, and I do quite like waste man. So an example of that is he's 35 and he still lives with his mum. Total waste man. This is a derogatory term used to describe someone being useless or worthless, a loser. Similarly, and this is good because they're not excluding any of the two main genders. Waste gal can be used for females. So we can start to build a picture up. Dem pedos are waste men who live on those ends. Blood. So the fourth one is mandem, and this is my favourite. Mandem is a collective noun for a bunch of boys or men, particularly your own group of mates.
Mandem.
Mandem.
Inside. Inside. Inside.
I see ya.
It sounded like a seizure.
Right, number 5.
Coming in hot in the Mandem. Mandem. It's a weird. It's a
Thank God for the galdem. The female equivalent to mandem, a group of girls. So that's fairly self-explanatory. Rude boy is number 6 on the list. So an example of that is, I heard you got a problem with me. Rude boy, listen. Originally Jamaican slang, this describes a bad man or someone who's just hardened by the street. A rude boy might be an armed gangster or just a teenager with attitude. I don't know where you come from, Neil, but I didn't grow up with a lot of armed gangsters to the point where we had to make up names for them. But there we go, rude boy. So, them pedos, them mandem rude boy, and they live in your ends, blood. Safe is just another word for cool. Bear is an interesting one. Number 8 on the list, bear. This tune is bear sick. This tune is bear sick. In standard English, this means sparse, but in multicultural or MLE, it has the opposite meaning, just to keep people on their toes.
What's
means
MLE?
very or lots of.
What's MLE? What's that?
Multicultural London English.
All right. So just miss out the C. Multicultural is one word.
Multicultural is one word.
Or maybe
I was trying to find a word today, and it was disclude. I was writing back to a guy, and I was like, "What? So does that mean they people are discluded?" And I was like, "What the fuck is the word?" So I had to say, "Does that mean they people can't go?" But basically, it was excluded. Excluded. I was meaning discluded. I was like, "The fuck, discluded."
Well, I think the fact that there's this multicultural London English where they've just made up words that mean the opposite of what they normally. You just make stuff up and just.
No, I know a guy who
English.
I know a guy who speaks like that. I know a guy who speaks or use all the words. He's a joiner, a white joiner for down in Leicester or something, and he speaks like this. Yeah, man.
Love it.
There was a movie based on all this fake language stuff. It's called, and a book as well. Actually, it's called Clockwork Orange.
the Clockwork Orange, the actual film.
And the book, the droogs and the
There's a guy who knows. There's a guy. I think it's Lawrence in the comments. There's a guy on YouTube who has his own language, and you need to get so he doesn't get cancelled or whatever, or his thing may wiped off. So you need to learn his language first, and then you can join in the conversation and the content, which
there's that.
Seems, I don't know. It's a YouTuber. I don't know the guy's name. I forgot the name. It's Lawrence Winterburn. I'm sure it was him who was telling me about that guy. I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong, but I think it is.
Well, Lawrence was in the chat. We'll see if he's still there and if he jumps back. See, scroll down, Cam, because I'm getting bored with this because it's a lot of fucking shite.
It's just.
It's a lot of shite.
But somebody's put the effort in to write that.
Number 17, Ute. Y-O-U-T. What do you think Ute means? Ute is short for youth.
That's a bit. It's just add on the extra letter.
Ute.
Just add on the extra letter. That's a bit.
So that's
silly.
that's like us saying hang. What does hang mean? It just means thing. We drop the T. So anyway, that's quality education from the British Broadcasting Corporation. They take money from our bank accounts every month under penalty or threat of imprisonment to pay for their services, and they've put that handy guide together.
Do you think that's for like middle-aged folk? Or
yes.
Not middle-aged folk, middle-class folk living in London, so they can actually understand.
Stormzy tracks and
before they get robbed, they're like, "What the fuck are they saying?"
They use that to try and not get robbed. Come on, Mandem.
Come on, Mandem.
I don't even want to fucking try, man.
Mandem.
Fucking hell.
Mandem, why are you robbing me?
Inside. I'm thinking when you say youth, there's a guy. There's a guy I know. Will you want to talk about anything in particular right now? Right, I'll tell you this now while I think it, remember it. So there's a guy I know, I was talking to him, and he was waiting on an insurance payout because his mum died, and it went through. It was through a kind of big thing.
Did she really die? Or was this insurance scammer guy?
No, a different guy. This is a guy I know.
Different guy, right?
This is the guy I know. And so it was an insurance. It wasn't an insurance scam. It was waiting on an insurance payout for his mum, and dying. I don't know. She died like in weird circumstances, and then he was waiting. So it was 8,000 quid that he got, and his wife's left him. He's just himself. So he's not got much money or that. So I was thinking, that's good. So I said, you're going to put it away, maybe put it to a deposit or a house or something like that, or just keep it for your daughter or whatever. And he's like, nah. He says, I don't know. He says, it's 8,000 quid. He says, it's a telescope that I like, and it's 9,000 quid. So if you look at it, it's only going to cost me $1,000. And I'm like, a 9,000 quid telescope? I was like, what, you into like you into astronomy and stuff like that? He's like, nah, not really. I've never had a telescope before, but I just thought might not be able to do it again. This is the only time he's going to have that money. What? You're going to spend all of it? Why?
A telescope? Did they live up your village near the school?
That's the funny thing is when you have binoculars or you have a telescope, anybody who gets them just looks in people's windows. That's what everybody does, but we don't talk about it. Anytime I have binoculars, a telescope, I'm like, let's see what they're up to. What are they up to? See if I can see in. You know?
Aye.
Or maybe
that's
just
22 stories up. I live 22 stories up in the highest point in Glasgow.
That would have been pretty cool, man.
Which is in Springburn. So the view, you could see Dunoon, seeing a clear evening when the sun was setting. You could see Dunoon. It was amazing. You could probably even see your house nearly if I had that 9 grand telescope.
But that's a good view for you up there, man.
It was amazing.
I always look at the big flats and I'm like, they must be fucking great.
You know
to
the
be
ones
up
I'm
there.
talking about? They're what they called again. Fucking hell, I lived there for years.
Ballgrey
Hill Road.
Right. I don't know the ones, but
in Glasgow you can't miss them. It's like the highest point in Glasgow is this hill near Stobhill Hospital, and they go up to 24 stories, I think, and I lived in the 22nd floor, and as I say, the views were amazing. I mean, there wasn't internet and that back then, so you had the telly and had a wee shitey portable, so you could just look out the window at night. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but that's what you do, and you'd see the planes approaching into Glasgow Airport. But you would. And there was flats across the road, but they were set further down on the hill. So you could just lean against the window like that and look into folks' houses. And it's fucking fascinating watching folk with their wee lives, getting into their wee kitchen, shuffling out with the wee tray with their dinner, sitting down. You're like, oh, Coronation Street must be starting. Do you know what I mean? It
funny,
was
man.
Dead interesting.
It's funny you say that. My mum used to live, anybody who knows, you know, the halfway, Cambuslang halfway, you've got Mill Road where the bowling club is on. So there's these like maisonette type apartment type things on each side of the road. And my brother was living with my mum at the time. She'd bought one a while ago. And so Ross was in his room looking over, and the people across the road, he never knew them, but he would say hi. I think they met him when they were passing or whatever. And he's seen them one night and he's watching, and then the fucking guy's sitting watching the telly, and then the woman comes in and she fucking takes off her top, and then she goes down on her knees at the couch, gives the guy a blowjob, and Ross is just sitting watching for the other side of the fucking street there like that. And that's where the story stopped. They probably had a wank or something as well, you know, but he's never stopped the story there.
So they must have known they've got their curtains or blinds open, right? That's probably
they were like the same up, because it was like up the stair, so he was up the stair. And they were on like the second floor already, so they were in like the living room, so they were down a floor, so but they're still up. You can't. Well, I suppose other people across the road could look in. I suppose so.
I think that's their kink. It must have been.
You think so?
It must have been.
Fuck.
It must have been. You
Weird.
would be super aware of the fucking. Oh,
maybe it's no weird. Maybe that's no weird. But Ross was in the dark though.
But it did happen in Cambuslang.
Aye. Well, see, the other thing is, when we were on holiday fucking years ago, man, in Turkey, it was like when we were young and my uncle and that was there, and we'd go out onto the balcony, and all we seen next door to my uncle's balcony is just the burn off his fag, because it's all dark, and he's like, and it just burns away, and he's just like that. See, if we just keep looking down here, I've been watching him for the past 2 nights. And she comes in about this time and fucking gets changed, and I can watch her. And I'm like, fucking pervert, man. But I think we might all be voyeurs.
Aye,
in a way, you know.
That's got to be an evolutionary thing. You want to see what other folk are doing all the time. It has to be. I've not really given it any thought. I'll think about it for next week. Are we voyeurs due to evolutionary development, or are we just dirty perverts?
See, going to
Cambuslang.
See, going back from last week, when you were talking about like the end of the world and that, and the I Am Legend stuff.
Aye.
That if the world was to end and I was only cunt left alive, I would just go through folks' houses and go, all right, so you had that, like, okay. And then
I like what they've done with the couch.
They must have
it facing like that, and the way they've got their telly on the wall.
They must have had a fantastic life when it was. I wonder how much time they spent doing. Oh, that is just brilliant.
Aye,
I might do that.
A couple of comments, right? Scott Porterfield. I'm from Cambuslang. It's quite shite.
Oh, aye. I've not been down for a while, man. I've not been down for a while. That's where I grew up, like Rutherglen, and the family still lives in Cambuslang and all that. So,
and then Iron Brew's Life, which we strongly suspect. I mean, that's what all the conspiracies in the chat are saying. We strongly suspect Iron Brew's Life is howling. Someone tell Mark it's been more than 2 minutes since his last Patreon ad.
And ironically, he's allowing it to continue. He's allowing another Patreon ad to come in.
He's sitting there the now. He's sitting there the now with one hand down the front of his jeans, another hand in his jeans pocket, finger in his wallet, and he's just waiting to be triggered enough to pull that wallet out and go over to patreon.com/smre. Get them digits. Put into the system and sign up.
Here's another multicultural London English reference.
Okay, Scott Porterfield says, I heard a guy refer to a lassie as Leng. Think it means nice looking. Have you heard that before, Neil? Leng?
I've never heard. Is it like a London thing? I've never heard that, Leng.
I've
Your
heard that.
blood. Your
I've
blood
heard
shilling.
I think it's from up here.
Oh, aye?
Aye. But it might be like
Leng.
Fife or something, maybe, because now they're a bit
Inbred.
over in Fife. Aye.
It's a mental place. It's nice. It's beautiful over that way, though. The beaches and that are
stunning.
beautiful.
Oh,
it's
aye.
nice, and it's just different because we just speak different, you know.
Yep.
It's just you know.
You go over to Fife and they're like, "Where do fe?" You're sorry, what? Where do fe? Like, I don't. I'm sorry, and it's like an hour away. It is
It's no
mental,
far.
isn't it? It's an
It's no
hour
far.
away, and they talk
far.
completely different.
And that big bridge is very. That big bridge is pretty nice as well that they done.
Oh, it's stunning. The
You
new
know?
bridge is brilliant. We were over it a couple of times, Cam and I, the other month for a job, and you go over it in the mist, and there's just the big fucking spires going right up into the mist. It's cracking.
It's cool, man. What you done? Well, you said you were away for a job. You done much content creating? Like that is your name, a Scottish content creator. What sort of content you been putting out?
So I can give you a full fucking content breakdown if you want to know. And actually, I think it's Rob Simpson was interested because I was talking about it in one of my lives on Instagram last week. I've actually been producing some interesting content. So I'm doing some work for the New World Order Great Reset people. No joke.
Really?
Aye. No, seriously, no joke.
Are they going to listen to this and be like, I
can't let them know about this because they would just be like, get him fucking, send the van for him.
That's not very democratic though, is it?
They don't care about democracy. Just be careful what you say, right? Just don't fucking give any hints. Fucking hell. He'll get me sacked. That's what I was saying to Rob. I says, Rob, man, I can't actually talk about it because I don't want, you know what I mean? Because one of these cunts will go, we were watching a podcast and they mentioned you, and then that'd be me, like, fucking done. No, but I had to interview two really interesting people over the past couple of weeks. One of them is it turns out she's a famous journalist from the Philippines who is like, because the Philippines has got a military dictatorship as its ruling sort of government, and they're totally gunning for her. She's been arrested 10 times in 2 years for publishing articles about the president of the country. So he just gets the courts to issue a warrant and she gets arrested. So it was interesting. I didn't know who she was before the interview because I've not actually got to sit and live interview them. I give them some questions. My camera thing disappears and then I record them and then I'll follow up maybe just to pull a bit more information out of them. So that was interesting. And then another one I did was an interview with a girl from Myanmar whose father was a politician and there was some sort of military coup and her whole family was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Her dad was sentenced to 47 years in solitary confinement. So when she was 18, she gets sent to prison along with her mother and her sister. And her dad, as I say, he get 47 years in solitary. And she was in prison for 7 years before there was an amnesty and she was released. So listening to her was dead interesting. It's like we fucking complain about stuff, right? We complain, there's not enough cheese on that pizza. Right? These are folk who are like, you know, you go to school and when you go to school and somebody comes and says, is Neil McKinley here? He's to go to the office. And you go to the office and it's like the fucking police taking you away because your dad said something and you get the jail for 25 years, man.
That's some crazy shit.
I've been doing that and it's interesting because it is a fairly big I went into the project not really knowing the scale of it and stuff, and then it's becoming as I'm getting more involved, I'm like, actually this is quite a big fucking deal, but it is a wee bit kind of world, what's that world, Klaus Schwab, who's he again? Klaus Schwab,
like New World Order, or?
It's a bit New World Order, Great Reset. There's a wee bit of that, but I just shut my brain off to that. No, they're paying me money, I don't care, I'll fucking hoor out my principles.
So what did you do? You edit up a video and all that for it? You do the full thing and you edit it all together? And
basically they didn't have anything. This project didn't have anything. So they came to me and another guy. So we consulted with them for a month on what their content strategy plan should be. So I was like, right, well, I can record the audio for them dead easy, but then I was like, I can add the video in as well. So basically use what we're using now, but record it, different overlays and stuff, and then they get edited up for the social media to promote these organisations. Right. And then I got contacted and asked to put in a proposal to do a monthly podcast based on something like this, because the guy had seen this. And I'm like, nice. Are you serious?
Are you sure?
Aye. He says, and I showed it to my boss. He says, you dropped the F-bomb as soon as I played the video, but he says he didn't mind. He was cool. So
it's funny how people say, how they still, it was cool with you saying it. It's like, well, why would he not be cool with me saying a word? But it's like, who decided what's good and bad? What? It fucking freaks me out still that we still talk about that in 2021. It's like, come on, we had slavery, we had the Holocaust, and you're shocked about a guy saying fuck. It's like, come on, man, hey, people like to act, people like the drama.
Like you and I spoke about the folk that have got trigger warnings at the start of their podcasts. To listeners, be advised that some of the themes discussed on this may be triggering to people who have issues with pizzas, psychological warfare, and the New World Order.
Aye, exactly that. It's just fucking. It's how soft do we want to get? I'm not want to be a big man and say, oh, we need to be tough. I'm not talking like that. I'm just saying how soft do we need to get that we get to a stage where we're so weak that we can't do anything. Like, have you seen some of these people who are like early 20s, right into politics and protesting all the time about whatever bullshit they fucking think to protest about? Have you seen them when they take pictures? I've saw them. And I've seen woodwork guys like this, and I've had to unfollow. Like, they're just on that, they're right on that scale, man. That far left, it's like the dictators, man. So they stand, their arms down the side, and their shoulders are away back, and and I'm like, fucking how? They're just so weak. They don't even want to show like they can stand up straight because it's toxic masculinity. If I'm standing up like it's fucking. I don't know, man. I don't think it would be nice being a child right now. I don't think it would be nice being anything under like 20 right now.
Well, you've got 3 boys under the age of 20. I've got one under the age of 20. And all it takes to counter that is just to be a solid. And you and I spoke about this on I think the first members only. Just to be a solid male role model for your.
Well, that's it. That's it. And this is what I was thinking about. Like, who's their mums and dads? Who are these people's mums and dads? Because I don't know if I see, like, who are they, man? What happened? What happened with why are you so disrespectful of everything? They're very disrespectful, this crowd, man, but they come across as if they're really, everything's upside down backwards. Fucking weird.
So there's a 21-year-old in the room. Should we ask the 21-year-old Cameron what the fuck's going on with your generation?
Instagram and Snapchat stories. It's a really easy way to get across your message for only a 24-hour period before you obviously change it again. That was something that I found hilarious when all the Black Lives Matter stuff was going. So it was the shift between praising lockdown and then going to Black Lives Matter riots. So there was multiple people that when I was using Instagram on my phone, I took it off because it was just so frustrating. But seeing people post stories about stay inside, mask up, it's not that hard to mask up, blah blah blah, and then that same week them sending stories onto their videos onto their stories of them at packed Black Lives Matter protests and riots. I thought that was just funny.
Yeah.
Aye, it's the whole thing. But and we've put our hands up to, I think you especially know that your opinions can change. You think Instagram stories only last 3 hours, not 24. But I think it's the whole thing that there is a generation that just don't really know where they stand. But it's because their ideologies are shifting sands themselves. So how can you grow up to be a solid young guy if you don't have a solid ideology to base your life off? And I'm not talking about some deep, profound political ideology, just some fucking solid principles behind you. And it comes back, you can blame the schools all you want, right? But ultimately it should come down to the parents. So right now, the vaccine thing's getting rolled out for 12 to 15-year-olds, right? Which you and I have got our opinions on them, right? We've got our opinions on that. But I spoke to my youngest son, who's 12, and I said to him, what are you going to do when they offer you the vaccine in school and he basically says, "I'll just kick them in the balls." No, I can get behind that. That's a good, solid ideology to stand on as a 12-year-old.
Fucking amazing if he just kicked them right in the balls, no explanation, just you want the vaccine, both right in the bollocks.
And then the school's on the phone to me, can you come down? Well, they wouldn't let me in the school, so they'd want to have a video thing with me. Fergus booted the vaccine administrator in the balls, and I would be like, and?
Have you got a video of it? Was the CCTV working? I want to see
it. You get a video, because I want to put it in my story.
Well, it's a weird thing because people are living, and I don't think they know who they are. They're jumping between all these things, like who am I, and they're trying to find out who they are. It's like listening to like the binaural beats, which I listen to, and then I found out that like binaural beats are like crack cocaine for millennials. You know what I mean? It's like a real big deal for them, man. You know, it's like fucking here, and this you listen to this one, but they just don't know who they are, man. They just don't know who they are. They're trying all these different things. Do that. Have you seen YouTube, man? All the gurus on YouTube, that it's just, it goes on, and people don't know who they are, and then they don't want to find out who they are. They like the drama. They like being behind it. There's a woodworker on right now who a guy was telling me about before we came on. He's right into the vaccine and the COVID stuff, and he's using his platform, his woodworking platform, to tell people we should be in a 2-tier society, and if you don't get the vaccine, you should be excluded from society. And I'm like, wow, man,
ideas like that back in the 30s.
He's cool with it though. But the whole thing is, it's like the work that he does is really expensive, and I'm like, go and try and keep going with your work being really expensive to vaccinated people, because there's an awful lot of unvaccinated people who are against it, who are fucking rich as fuck, and they don't they're no interested, you know. So
good luck in the long run, mate.
I don't see how a woodworker and that is doing that. They're just posting about it's like you don't really nobody really knows. None of us know. Yep. None of us, and we're talking as if we actually know facts. It's like the facts have changed like maybe 4 or 5 times for the start of the pandemic right to now. So none of us fucking know, but we're talking as if we know what the fuck's going on, you know?
There's a comment, and I didn't catch who said it, but it's to do with folk on Facebook and all that having their pronouns in their bio, and I think that's more an Instagram thing as well, isn't it? Where folk have got their pronouns in the bio. Scott said these wackos that have their wackos, controversial, that had pronouns in their Facebook bios. Has anybody actually had someone tell them to their face, please refer to me as they them? And it's a good point. It is, again, it's a weird example of people trying to establish their identity, but actually giving us a shortcut to realise they don't have a fucking clue who they are.
Why? I mean, it's the height of white privilege, or height of any privilege, man. It's like we have no challenges, but we argue about, please call me they them, please call me he him, please call me she her, whatever the fuck, call me whatever. It's like we go out our way to tell people now what to call them, because there's no fucking other challenges left in the first world. So now we're all arguing about, and then I don't check your privilege. It's like, what, you're telling me what to call you? Go and fuck yourself. Weird bunch, man. Weird bunch of cunts, you know.
Rob Simpson says, I think it was Rob Simpson said that in B&Q they've started, the staff have started. There we go. Went into B&Q the other day, and some of the staff had their pronouns on their name badges.
Oh, aye. Well, I
think you could go in now and just steal whatever the fuck you want, and all you would need to do when the wee guy comes up to you, right, to say, excuse me, sir, have you paid for all the items in your trolley? You take a glance at his name thing, and if it says they, them, don't call them their pronouns. He'll be so triggered, it'll probably kick in a stroke. His neural functions will shut down, and you just go, walk right out the fucking sliding doors.
It's the B&Q's a funny one, though, but, I mean, because who are you going to be? I suppose it's for their work colleagues that are calling them each other, oh, he's over there, or they're over there. Yeah, it's a weird one. But I was another day, and there's a guy wearing a Harris Tweed face mask with the actual Harris Tweed square badge, you know, the sewn badge. And it's there, and his beard's hanging out from underneath it, and they don't know how to work the fucking till. I keep telling them every time I go in, I say, this card's never working, and I say, you need to do, I'm telling them how to work the till, because they don't fucking know. And the two of them are standing there like bumping, you know how to do this? I don't really. And I'm like, listen, I've got shit to do. I'm no like just standing about wearing a fucking Harris Tweed mask and thinking, does my beard look good in that? I said, I've got shit to do. So I'm saying, just type this in the fucking thing. There you go. That's it. I say, type this fucking in, my account will come up, and then I can pay and I can get to fuck, because this is really embarrassing. But everything's slow now. Everything's slow as fuck. Into Screwfix, Screwfix, I went in, and she says, is that a collection? I says, no, it's I'm just going to make an order right now. She says, all right. I says, there's the QR code. You hand it up and they scan it. So they get your account. I'm like, right, that's my account. And then our mate comes over. It's this fat fucking annoying woman, and she's fucking she's never happy. I don't know what's the matter with her, but she comes across, oh, we don't see anything in your basket there. I'm like, what basket you talking about? Well, you could have just put your all your codes in, and then when it scans, it comes up, and we know what you're looking. I'm like, wait a minute. I say, see this QR code shit and fucking uploading my basket. I don't do any of that shit. I say, I come in here and I give you this QR code. You scan it and my account comes up, and I tell you the fucking numbers, and then you type them in. Oh, fuck. And then you type them in, and then you say, that's fine. We'll go and get them for you. But she's like, oh, well, you could really do that next time. I'm like, no, I don't do any of this shit. I say, I'm coming in. I'm like, why is this fucking taking longer than what it did fucking 5 years ago? It's like you have a queue, and I was so close to go on a nice rant in front with all the workies behind me, and because the guy was like, oh, we've got a queue. And I was going to say, of course we've got a fucking queue, because everything's slow as fuck now, because it's like the woman was fucking reading a catalogue, the paper catalogue, and then the guy's like, oh, I can't find it. And she went, we're going digital now anyway. We're going to go digital. So you might as well just look at it on your phone. I'm like, we're going to go digital? Am I in the year 2000? We're going to go fucking digital? What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what you do? Why is everything slower? Like, it takes me longer to get from here to Dumbarton now. It takes me longer now than what it did fucking 10, 15 years ago. People could say there's more people on the road, fair enough, whatever. But also, car technology has got a lot better since that. Why the fuck does it take you longer to get anywhere now? Right? Why does service in anywhere take fucking longer? It's like we're not progressing. We've got all this fucking tech, and we've got a load of fucking stupid bastards that don't know how to use it, just fucking wandering about. Oh, can you fucking come and sign in here? Because I don't know my log. It's just I think this is
Do you know what will make it all easier? When we all get microchipped.
Well, that's what the vaccine is.
Speed everything up. Speed everything up, Neil. You get a microchip in you. It's got your fucking Sainsbury's loyalty card, Tesco loyalty card, your favourite Asda pizza toppings loaded in, your Screwfix QR code, your criminal record, long one. All the other stuff that you've got, it's all in it. And then you just go up to the bouncer at the door with his face mask on, his badge with his fucking pronouns on it. You hold out your wrist. He goes, bleep, with the wee scanner, and it all comes up. It all comes up. And do you know what? The algorithm, it will be so smart that Screwfix will know what you need and want before you do. Before you do.
Aye, man. Because
that's like, it's the cameras in your workshop will have already analysed or he's used 22 sheets of that sanding paper, so we know he's only got
that's the way it's
left.
Man. That's
so
it.
Get that added into his Screwfix thing.
That's it.
Screwfix, and then you go in and they scan you, and the lassies like that, there you go, there's it, and you're like, how did you? I didn't even, and like that, there we go. That's the algorithm for you.
See,
what's on you go, Kim?
There was actually a real life example of that, of like a shop knowing exactly what this person needed before she even knew it. And it's to do with this girl in America getting emails and stuff like that from Target saying, based on your recent purchases, we think you should buy a pregnancy test next. And the dad was getting absolutely raging and contacted Target and was like, what? 'Cause she was only a teenager. But what ended up happening was she was buying similar items to people that in the past had then bought a pregnancy test. So she bought a pregnancy test and she was pregnant.
Whoa. Really? She was actually pregnant?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
What age was she?
I think she was like a teenager or something like that.
Teenager,
I think. Maybe even going into early 20s.
Under 16 or over 16. That's just to see. But
well, if it's in America, it's got to be over 18, isn't it?
Some states,
Depends
not a
on the
lot.
states.
No,
In southern
everywhere.
states, it's like 12 or something like that, I think. Could be wrong.
But it's like having everything. Sometimes I think, you know, that on Amazon, you know, you can get Amazon and it pops up and it says, oh, you can pay 50 quid for 3 months or whatever. Do you get that? Is that on your Amazon? It pops up?
What, like
No.
the subscribe and save thing? No?
No, it's like, say you're buying something that's expensive and you
Oh,
can
right.
pay,
Aye.
you know,
Oh,
it's
my
like a
credit
catalog.
rating's shite. My credit
No,
rating's so...
no, but I don't even know if it's a credit rating thing. I
No?
don't think it's no, it's just a thing that comes up and it's like you can buy it this way. But sometimes I think that's to see how good a person you're at paying back your stuff. I think it's that'll like Amazon will just be the only place you can buy anything. That'll be it.
Aye.
And it'll just move on and I think we're fucked. I think this is the start of the end of the world. I think that was a pre-thing, the COVID, the lockdown. I think that was just
Aye.
pre. I think this is us. I think this is us, man.
The QR code thing, man, and it's like now in Scotland, you're going to need a QR code to get into a nightclub, but they're not really too sure exactly what a nightclub is. I mean, a wedding venue could be technically classed as a nightclub and all that, and it's like your QR code and all that. And my dad was in today, and my dad likes his mobile phones and stuff, but he pulls it. He's got his proper mobile, right? His smartphone, but he pulls out like a wee flip phone, and immediately my eyes lit up, and I'm like, oh, let me see that. He goes, I got it 15 quid off eBay, and it's a wee. I don't even know what brand it was, but it was just a wee flip phone that took me back. Remember, you flipped them open, and it's got the colour screen. It's got a good screen on it. But I was like,
Polyphonic
man, that's the future, right? Fuck your fucking smartphone. It's like if you scan the QR code, with what, mate? With what?
But you
We
get
scan
to
it with
the
your
point.
phone, mate. Look at my phone. It's for fucking 2009.
People look at you weird if you don't have a
Aye.
phone like
honestly,
this.
if
You're a fucking
Adam
weirdo.
Curry, who does the No Agenda podcast, in fact, he was on Rogan talking about it a year ago, and he went to a flip phone ages ago. He doesn't carry a smartphone, and all he's got on the flip phone is he's not got any Google product, nothing at all that can track him, and I think he's only got like text messaging. I can't even remember. He's got no social media because he can have some apps on some of these older flip phones, but he's got none of that and no tracking at all. Malcolm Daly mentioned earlier on that in the comments that the loyalty cards are used by HMRC to track your purchases, Neil.
Oh, is that right? How's it going, Malcolm? Is that right? Is that a thing, eh?
Loyalty cards are HMRC's way of tracking your income. Don't use them.
So how would they do? How would they track just for loyalty cards? So like a loyalty card, what are you talking about? What is a loyalty card?
Like your Tesco loyalty card. So they
Right,
basically
okay.
say to you at the till, if you've got your Tesco card, and they
And
scan it,
okay.
right, and then all your purchases get logged onto your account.
That's interesting.
So there's been a few interesting comments just based about what we're talking about. Rob, scroll down, Cam. Rob Simpson says that he went to Latitude Festival, saved up a load of money from cash jobs. Oh, HMRC, Rob, for the weekend, and they made it a card-only event.
Right, okay.
I mean, that's the other thing. And I paid at Lidl with cash yesterday, and the wee women at the till always end up chatting to her because it was a whole big thing about a mobile phone. A customer went, oh, I found this mobile phone lying outside. And the woman at the till went, all right, I know that. That's Tracy. She works in here. I'll give her a call in a wee minute and let her know. So I was just standing like, right, and I never said anything. And then she said that, so that woman left and she said to me, it's not the first time she's done that. I'll give her a wee call in a minute. And I just went, you know that when you call her, that phone's going to ring, don't you? And you could see the cogs. And she's like, oh, fuck's sake. Oh, that's so embarrassing, of course. So every time I'm in, she recognises me for that. Right? So I paid with cash yesterday, and I says, I bet you don't get a lot of cash these days. She says, I'd live her. She says, all I use is cash personally. I don't use a bank card. She says, because I try to get rid of cash.
Yeah,
she's right.
Well,
she's
I mean,
totally
cash is a bit of freedom, man, for people as well. Cash is freedom, man, you know, and it's kind of, they make it hard to use anywhere you go. It's like, I've been in some places and it's like, we'd prefer cash. You know, you hand the cash there if you got a card, and I'm like, nah, I've got cash. Fucking take your cash or go and fuck yourself, you know.
Cash only businesses are the way to go, aren't they? Cash only business.
I mean, it's been if I'm sending stuff to people. One time, a guy came to the house and fucking I was making a kitchen for him, and he gave me like an envelope with like $2,000 or $3,000 in it, and he says, "There you go, that's for the cash party deposit. I'll get her to transfer the rest of it over to you." I was like, all right, but I was like, this is because he was close by. Nobody's really close by me now, though, if I'm making stuff. So, they just pay it online. They find it online, buy it. Money's in the bank. Fair enough. And then, but I don't know. I quite like the cash is always good. I don't know. I feel as if I spend cash easier, quicker.
That's the thing. I spoke to a guy back in 2015, and he obviously remained nameless. But he runs a successful business, and he's worth a few bob.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me all the tricks of the day that his accountant had told him for him to get money out of his business, but it had to be cash, right? It's the only way, because once the cash is out, I think it's harder to track or something, right? I'm not an expert on stuff like that and money laundering and stuff. I'm not an expert, obviously, so this is not an educational section of the podcast.
If anybody for a cartel is listening, don't take advice.
No, don't take advice, because you'll end up getting busted by the feds. But he was telling me all this stuff, right? But for him, it was all about cash, right? So, and he says basically you've got a safe in your house, and it's just cash, and you use cash as often as possible. And he says, I've got a travel agent. When we're booking a holiday, it's cash. Everything goes through this travel agent cash, which is really unusual. Like, who goes to a travel agent and you're like that pulling out a roll of 50s and counting off $3,000 for your package holiday, So for a wee while, I was like, right, I'm going to try and use cash more. And I was paying my rent in cash. I'd go up to the fucking estate agents at the start of the month and just pay my rent in cash, just roll on the 20s. And it is an interesting way, and you approach money differently. You're much more aware of, because that every one of those notes you hand over, you've had to work to get that. Whereas with the fucking contactless thing, it's not even, or even using your phone. You know what I mean? You can do the contactless on your phone. So you've got your loyalty card on your phone, and then you tap the button at the side, and it loads up your bank card, and then you tap to pay. So the money side of it, it's not tangible, and maybe that's what they want. So that when we get switched to the universal basic income and the digital currency, we'll not even notice.
The UBI, I'm not against the UBI. I'm not against
it.
I mean, I think UBI's.
You like your government grants and all that anyway, didn't you?
I mean, it's there to be taken. It's like there's grants available if you've got a business and it's there, but it's no like they're. I wish I had a business that was maybe a bit bigger for the grants, because once you get up to a certain size, you could fucking run amok with the grants. There's people going fucking crazy with it, but if you're just a normal joiner, there's no like much. But no, I don't know. The UBI is I find it interesting because people don't need to be in jobs that they fucking hate. You know what I mean? They maybe can do their own thing in that, but I know the people are against it.
On the side.
I know people say it's like communism and that, but you can still work and do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I've not read up much.
The kind of the train of thought my brain went down when the first lockdown kicked in, and obviously with this mad business apartheid, where you had essential and non-essential businesses. So the non-essential businesses were at risk of going out of business, but some of those non-essential businesses could, in the long term, be essential because either necessary for infrastructure, economy, or just goods and services that they provide. But in that moment in time, during a pandemic where we're told 500,000 people are going to die, therefore they couldn't operate their business, they were deemed non-essential. And my hypothesis was, that's great, and then the government steps in, so the business is going to go bust, and the government steps in, now we'll take over that business now, right? And then everybody's on UBI. Oh fuck, I get UBI, this is brilliant. You now need to go. You now need to go and work for that business. That's now your job, is to go and work for that business. So then the state pays you to work for the state. That's where I felt it could go quite easily. It doesn't take very many chess moves to the fact that you're a joiner today, but next week you're working in the Tunnocks factory. I
see. I was looking at it as selfishly and thinking, see if I get UBI and they give me £1,500 a month, fucking hell, man, I wouldn't need to take on any jobs for anybody that I never wanted to do. I could just fucking make my stuff and sell it. You know, when the people are probably destitute and like, oh, can I get by? And I'm like, this is fucking brilliant. But that's the way I look at life, in my own fucking world, in my bubble, and fuck everybody else. So that's what I'm trying to do, because it's nicer, you know, because fuck it. It's like, I don't think there's anything Well, I don't think there's anything the matter with that mindset, but I've not lived with that mindset, because I always kind of try to put don't put other people first, but just make sure they're all right and they're comfortable with anything that we're getting involved in or that, you know. But I don't know if that's the way to do it, because if everybody had the mindset of just live in your fucking world, in your bubble, and whatever, no, like, no COVID bubble, but in your fucking world,
Aye.
live in that, and then if everybody done that, we maybe would get on. People are kind of interfering with people. You should do this, you should do that, you should
For
do,
the greater
and it's,
good. For the greater
aye,
good.
and
For
I,
the
I
greater.
don't
Fuck
really
off your
agree with,
greater good.
aye,
Who determines what's good? Who determines it? I'm always, because of my upbringing, any time there's any cunt setting themselves up as an expert or an authority, I want to know fucking who put you in charge. So anytime you talk about stuff like the greater good, well, somebody's set a benchmark, somebody's set parameters here and here, right? That's good. That's the greater good. I want to know the cunt that done that, that set that
yeah,
up. And I want to know what their credentials are and who fucking pays them. Do you know what I mean? Who do they hang about with? Do they go to Davos every year? Are they part of the Bilderberg group? I want to know. Because don't fucking tell me I've got to do something that doesn't particularly benefit me, but is for the greater good. Because I think that's fucking bullshit.
It's like we're trying to live in a utilitarian dystopia, but keep the class system at the same time.
That's way
aye,
too
there
deep.
we go. That's pretty deep. I think it's right, man.
Utilitarianism is where you do what will make the majority happiest.
Got you.
But at the same time, you can't have that and then a class system at the same time, which probably they're trying to get rid of as well. I don't know.
Well,
I'm only 21. I'm going to
funny...
change my opinion in 24 hours anyway.
But you think if you look at it, look at what was I going to say? I fucking think I forgot. The class system and all that. Like, so you have people that I know people, right? I have friends who love the class system and all that. They love all this and they're into it. They want to be part of this society and they want to do this. I don't know, man. There's just guys who I kind of look at and say, I would probably have a kind of lifestyle like that. You know what I mean? Like guys who just make stuff at the house. Their whole thing's at their house. They don't need to go anywhere. They have customers that you can just send stuff to, and you just you never really get involved with anything. It's like, you know what? I don't need to be a part of any of this. You know what I mean? On a motorway, sitting in a car, trying to get up. I don't need to be a part of this. And then you just gradually fade away from it, and then see. You know what I mean? By the time I'm 50, if I can live that long. 55 and go on, you're out there, man. You're out there and you're not a part of anything, and people tell you stuff like what's going on in the real world. You think, really, man, is that a thing? That's fucking weird, you know. But everybody lives different lives, you know.
Like the B&Q folk having they them on their name badges. I didn't
exactly like that. It's silly, you know. It's just like, what the fuck? Why do we need this? Why? There's a lot of stuff now that we don't really need that we keep getting, you know, like in Gemma's car, there's fucking like 16 buttons around you when you sit in the driver's seat. 16 buttons, and I'm like, you don't need like 3/4 of these, you know. Just let's get rid of them. But it's just we're at a funny stage with everything now.
Aye, it's definitely. Cam and I spoke about this a lot last year when clearly the world was going to shit. And listen, you can argue the toss all day. You're not going to change my mind that 2020 was the year the world went to shit, and it will never recover in our lifetimes, I don't think. But what I said to him is the one sort of good point about that is you're living through history. Like, and I lived through the Berlin Wall coming down, right? But I was only 17, so it kind of, that's vaguely interesting. But I hadn't grown up during the Cold War. I wasn't aware of the Cold War, the impact of the Cold War through the 60s, for example. So when the Berlin Wall came down in 89, right, I was aware of it and I knew it was a monumental occasion, but I don't remember all the fucking nuclear standoff stuff. And then through the 90s, you had Britpop and Oasis and Blur. That was it. And then New Labour came in and everybody was getting money for the government. That was great. And you had a couple of wars, but they didn't really affect you because you weren't getting drone striked down Argyle Street. But now we are living through I suppose you would call it an epoch. It's a total turning point in history. We're living through it just now. And I was talking to a guy the other day on WhatsApp, and he was lamenting some of the stuff that his work's bringing in. And he was talking about how he's dodging this and he's ducking that and he's forging this and forging that. But he's a wee bit ashamed of himself. And I'm like, mate, man, you're the fucking, you're in the underground fighting. You're the resistance. I said, they fucking made a film about Schindler. We're at war. And I'm not joking. I believe we're at war.
We're at war. I love that. I fucking love it, man.
Our way of life is gone. And folk go, well, I can still fucking go to the pub. But still, right, okay, you go to the pub, but you've got to fucking scan a QR code. In Scotland, you've got to wear a mask. Right? And folk go, but it's no big deal. No. That is indicative of a bigger shift in our lives It's indicative of a big. It's all of these things are made up of wee incremental changes, right? It's the boil the frog analogy. Wee incremental. The temperature goes up just a wee bit, and before you know it, you're dead, right? And I know this is the kind of chat we normally should say for the member show, but that's what it is, man.
I've been in a pub and I never wore a mask and done a QR code thing.
You can get around it. You definitely can.
I just saunter about. I just saunter in places and I'm like, just fuck off, man. I'm kind of be fucked with this. I'm over it. It's not even as if I'm a gay. It's not even as if see people who wear masks. It's not even as if I'm like, what are you doing? Shouldn't be doing it. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck about any issue now. I really couldn't give a fuck about any issue. It's like, go and fuck yourself. I'm here to spend my money. You want to take the money? It's like I was listening to a thing and they were talking about boots on the ground, like people who had wrote in, New York's meant to be vaccine to get in anywhere, restaurants and all that. But actually the people boots on the ground are like, nobody really asks you. It's kind of like this whole thing. Sometimes I see oh, you're going to need a vaccine for this. You can only go here. And I'm like, really? That's maybe in the news, but let me test it out in real life. And then I walk about and I'm like, this is fucking all right. But the thing what it's doing, because you have you have like the news towering over everything saying this is what's actually going on. And then you have all the followers of the news who are fucking addicted to fucking just this. It's no journalism, whatever the fuck it is, just like clickbait. They're addicted to it. So they're telling you as well. And I'm here like, listen, we're actually all right. The world's kind of, Glasgow's fine. Dumbarton's, this is all right. We can all get about and have a normal life. But people are like, no, you can't. And I'm like, but we can if you just I feel like John Lennon, you know what I mean? You can do it if you let it,
The way I'd put that is the general population is on a spiritual war against the media. It's a spiritual war. It's not something that you're going to fight on the ground. It's more something to do with what you feel in your gut. Is that right? No, it probably isn't. So I'm not gonna agree with it. Like we were in town like maybe 2 weeks ago watching the football, and the pub we were in was like 3 or 4 deep at the bar. No one had any masks on. So it's a completely spiritual one. If you disagree with it, then disagree with it.
Yeah.
But do it but actually disagree. Don't just say it and then change when you're out and about.
Aye. Well, there was a golfer who I follow, he's a golf writer, and he was in Ireland, and I saw the comments. People were like, oh, we were going to, he's American, but he travelled to Ireland. And I saw the comments and they were like, what are we doing now? Was it fine to travel? And he says, I just need to show them the vaccine card as you go into a restaurant. And I was like, in Ireland? I was like, I don't think so, but maybe it is. Maybe that's what it's like.
Well, Ray Masterton in the comments says half of Ireland was like, I don't care what they inject me with as long as I can get out for a pint. That's the fucking mentality. And this is
I
don't know, man. I think, again, we tend to save this stuff for the members because we just need to be careful on the main YouTube, man.
Well, I think it was
question stuff.
All right, but I think the thing about people saying, "Oh, I just want to get it to get out," I think that was a wee marketing thing. It's like it's basic fucking marketing. If you've got a limited edition product or whatever you're doing, it's like, "Oh, we don't have get it done, or you're not going to be able to do this." It's like dodgy car salesman stuff. It's like I'll wait. What if I wait, and then you wait a week, 2 weeks. And then they change the rules anyway.
Yeah.
So eventually, if you just wait, just ride it out, and then
just ride it out, man. Just
ride it out. Maybe next summer we'll not have any. I can't see it. I mean, how you meant to police it, man? How you meant to police it?
So Scotland on the 1st of October, 5 a.m. on the 1st of October, to get access to nightclubs and other venues, indoors and outdoors, you need to prove that you've had 2 shots of the vaccine. So it's not classed as being fully vaccinated anymore because of the booster shots, right? Israel's on its 4th booster shot. So that's what's coming to Scotland on the 1st of October. But then opposition MPs and actual fucking owners of nightclubs and other venues are like, well, how the fuck is this going to work? It's like, so the cunts queuing up to get in are just going to show the screen of their phone to the doorman. And is the doorman get a scanner? How's it going to work? And then the Scottish Football Association, they're like, some of the stadiums have got like 50, 60,000 people going. If every one of them got to scan something before they can get in, there's going to be queues for hours to get in.
See to get into Transmit, 2 weeks ago you had to provide a negative test result on I think it was probably the lateral flow one, or the one
it was lateral flow.
And But all you had to do, you don't even need to do the test. You just need to enter it on the NHS site, and then you get an email, and then you hand that to the guy that's letting folk through, and he just sort of looks at the date and then goes, "Right, yep, on you go." So
it's crazy, man. Somebody put up online a photograph of a kind of pamphlet thing that kids in Scotland. So the kids in Scotland, the vaccine's getting rolled out to 12 to 15-year-olds in Scotland, right? So whatever. But they've produced the Scottish government has produced a wee pamphlet to talk the kids into taking the vaccine, right? So a couple issues with that off the bat, right? First of all, you shouldn't need to talk folk into taking a vaccine. You shouldn't need to talk them into it. It should be evident why you would want to take it, right? Because all your pals have dropped dead in the fucking street. You're the last man standing. If you take this, you'll get to see your grandkids grow up. But none of that is in the pamphlet. And there's 4 reasons given in this pamphlet as to why the kids should say yes to the vaccine, regardless of what their parents say, because children from the age of 12 up can make their own minds up based on a thing called the Gillick competency test. They can decide, just as they can decide their gender and change their gender and all that in Scotland from the age of 12, they can decide what medical treatment they want. And in the pamphlet, the 4 reasons given, not one of those reasons has anything to do with health. Not one. It's stuff like you'll be able to go on holiday, you'll be able to go to concerts. Well,
it's like taking an
iPad. Take a vaccine to be able to do that?
Yeah, it's like taking an iPad off your kids. Saying, "No, once you're a good boy, you get it, you get it back." It's
exactly.
It's like basically that's it. And I can't understand why people don't see it as that. People see it as some other bullshit, and they tell me all these things, and I'm like, I don't know if it's that deep as that, mate. I think you need to just look at it and say we're kind of being controlled. It's very fucking controlling, But that's what it is, man.
The thing that disturbs me, and I think we need to get off this topic and talk about golf. The thing that disturbs me the most is last year, folk started believing politicians. My entire life, Neil, I grew up, and every cunt was like, I don't fucking believe a word. How do you know when a politician's lying? His lips move. I remember the weapons of mass destruction. It turned out that was bullshit, and millions of folk were saying we shouldn't have this war, and they done it anyway. I fucking cunts. And then last year, oh no, they mean they want the best for us. Oh no, you've got to. No, Nicola says. I saw guys on Facebook saying, I believe whatever Nicola says. They had a fucking banner thing made up. I believe whatever Nicola says. You're a fucking clown then.
Well, that's what
You're
I mean.
You're a fucking clown. And it comes back to the old cliche. How did Nazi Germany start? It was folk that thought like that. I believe anything Adolf says. I'm not saying she's Adolf Hitler before he's all go mad.
No, I mean the thing is, I think I don't know. It's like I don't know what the Scottish government has done for me. They've probably done a lot for me and people like me in my situation, whatever that is. But maybe they've no. I don't know. But it's when people say stuff like I go on and I read the comments. Sometimes see the comments, the replies on Twitter. Because sometimes you get a thing that comes up and it's a statement or whatever. How many cases? And I read the comments and it's like. Some of the stuff that people are talking, I'm like, do you really think that, man? Do you really think like that what you're writing? Because I can't believe that amount of people believe what they're writing. Like people are like, I seen one saying we should all be locked down, school should be done online, and we should no be allowed out till this thing goes. And I'm like, you just like fucking sitting in the house doing nothing, you lazy bastard, you work shy arsehole,
I spoke to a guy at a job last summer, just after the first lockdown had ended, and somebody said to him, how did you find lockdown? How was lockdown for you? And he's like, I mean, I know I shouldn't probably be saying this, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. He says, I'd taken early retirement from a previous role and I'd got a very healthy settlement. So I was able to go on an extended holiday just before lockdown came in. We came home the day before lockdown started. And he says, and I had a great time. I enjoyed the garden. I hadn't been in a garden properly for months. And I'm thinking, you fucking cunt. There was kids locked in their flats in the 24th floor of a high-rise building where the dad's a fucking raging alcoholic and the mum's struggling to get over amphetamine addiction. And that kid can't go to school, can't see the care worker, can't see their pals. And they're stuck in a fucking flat for weeks. And you're like, yeah, it didn't really bother me. And I brought that up to somebody and they were like, well, what's up with him saying that? It didn't, he enjoyed what? Well, I thought everything was for the greater good. I thought Everything. Just
Aye.
because it was good for you, mate, and your fucking big house with your garden, didn't mean it was great for every cunt. I thought it was for the greater good.
Well,
And that's
that's
all in it together. We're all in it together.
Well, that's in saying what that guy says, 2 points on that. The lockdown in the McKinley household was fucking amazing, man. You know what I mean? I had the workshop out there. We done the garden up. We had a great fucking time, and we fucking loved it. It was brilliant. We were all hanging about, and it was just fucking great. Which that's my first point. So I kind of see what the guy's coming from. And the
Yeah.
second point is when you say it's no great for everybody, that guy was kind of living in his bubble, like in his own world, like we spoke about there, you know. So maybe he should be allowed to just be like that, and then think, you can live in your own world and whatever, you know. But I would drive. I would be in Dumbarton coming out, and there's flats that you see, and there's the balcony thing on the flat that you walk into go in the houses, and there's a wee Wendy house thing right at the end. And I'm like, that's all they've got. They can't go anywhere else to play. That's it. They've got the fucking young kids in a Wendy house age kids, and they're on the fucking balcony of the thing. You'd fucking blow your brains out, man. You fucking blow your brains out.
There's a thing that's happening just now, right? There's an epidemic of bronchial issues in young children. So we're talking about the 2-year-old age group, right? There's an epidemic, and that's partly. I mean, we really need to get off this subject, right? So that's maybe the last thing we say on it. But there's a whole thing now about how the ambulances in Scotland can't cope, right? So they're bringing in firefighters and the army to drive the ambulances. Now, the issue is the ambulances are backed up at the hospitals because there isn't space in the hospitals. And it's not there's not enough beds in the hospitals, it's that they can't get folk off the ambulances and in and checked in and dealt with quick enough because there's folk that are having to self-isolate that work in the hospital and all the rest of it. But there is an epidemic of kids round about the age of 2 in hospitals just now with bronchial issues, nothing to do with COVID. They're all testing negative. And what nurses in the hospital are saying is these kids are being admitted with severe breathing difficulties because their fucking immune systems are stunted.
Oh, aye.
Because for the best part of a year, they didn't mix with other kids or other fucking human beings. Right? So, see all this. It was great for me because I got to spend time in my garden and all that, right? If we're thinking about we're doing this for the greater good, let's fucking talk about the greater good. See, for those wee kids now, it wasn't for the good of them. See the wee kids that were locked up with the Al-Qaeda and the abusive mum, it wasn't good for them. See the folk that had dire mental health breakdowns during it because they couldn't see their bird or they couldn't see their pals, it wasn't good for them. And that's probably the best we should say about it.
You know, no, I get it.
Let's talk about golf, Neil. Let's talk about golf. Right, so I didn't know you were into your golf until I listened to your interview on the Job and Knock podcast, the internationally acclaimed Job and Knock podcast. So I didn't know you were into your golf.
Oh, aye, no, I don't play much now, man. I don't play much.
You wanted to be a golfer?
Aye, man. I thought I wanted to be. It's fucking hard. You need to be really good, man. I wasn't that good, so no, I still play, man. I don't really have one now, man. I don't have one. I think best I got it. It was like single figures, you know. It was never like fucking great. It was never like brilliant.
To get to single figures, you've got to be all right.
It was all right, man. I could play in that, you know. I could play a game in that, but it's like one of the things you need to practice all the time, you know. And it's a mind game as well. It's fucking crazy, you know.
All the thing is, golf,
the swing is like what, a second or a second and a half or something. And the amount of thoughts that go through your head in that 1 second is fucking unbelievable. And so I was trying, like when I've been back playing out, because Caleb took it up and he's been playing for a year and he's getting really good at it. But I've been trying to play if I could just have no thoughts in my mind for that 1 second, just switch off, just because, you know what I mean? We should know how to hit the ball. We shouldn't need to think, put your hands here, do this, do that. It should be it's a natural instinct for how long has the brain been evolving, you know?
And have all that going through your head before you kick the ball. You just do it instinctively.
That's it. So people are thinking you swing here, your weight goes here, and you cut this, and you turn your hips, blah, 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 all this shit. And it's like, you don't really need to, you shouldn't need to do that because the brain has evolved over all the years to you know, throw stuff or, you know, so it's kind of the same, but try to fucking just can't calm that down is fucking ridiculous, you know?
So I think I know who your favourite golfer of all time is. I think it is the one and only Mr. John Daly.
Aye, you'd be right, he is. Everybody
loves... Is he up there?
Aye, man, John Daly, I love people like that. John Daly, so guys we grew up with. So say John Daly in golf, Gaza, Paul Gascoigne as a footballer. You know, I like all guys like that. I don't like these professional kind of sportsmanship guys. I like guys who are super like raw talent and they go out and they just fucking do what they do. And it's like, fuck everybody. This is how I do it. I like that attitude because they don't practice too much. They're fucking mad alkies. They're, you know, that's the way to do it, I think, man.
He was a gambling degenerate. So he's estimated he went through his tax returns because he wanted to figure out how much he'd lost gambling. And he estimates it's between $50 and $60 million he's lost.
Man. Crazy, man. So
he
crazy.
Drinks about 20 Diet Cokes a day.
Aye.
He might have stopped smoking now, but he was smoking between 100 and 150 cigarettes a day. Aye. And there's all these photographs of John Daly on the tee.
Brilliant, man.
With the fag in his mouth. He wasn't fucking thinking about all the moves he did. He's just thinking
that's it, man. But even Caleb, my middle boy, he is one of his favourite golfers. Like, he loves the way he swings and all that, and he try. So he's like, it's the same guy, same sort of what I talk about all the time that bores everybody. It's that connection. What is it? Is it the charisma? But what is charisma? It's the connection that these guys had, and it's still like even my boys' generation still look at him. He plays in like a Champions Tour. He's like an older golfer now, so you know what I mean. Like, look at that.
He's not in the major tours anymore, eh?
No, he's not in it. So it's like, there's something about him that just connects with loads of people throughout the world, and it's a weird thing. It's a weird topic that if I ever had time, I would spend money and research it to find out what it was. But
he had that iconic haircut for years, didn't he? The kind of
mullet,
the short thing in the mullet. Aye,
he's quite a brilliant
character.
Man. He's a great
stories
golfer.
about him and he's one of his ex-wives getting into an argument in a restaurant, and he shows up. She goes after him with a steak knife. And he shows up on the tee the next day, and he's got all these fucking scrapes across his face where she's gone at him with a knife.
He was a wild man, but we went to see him when the Scottish Open was at Loch Lomond. That was on for like 2 or 3 years. We used to go. It was brilliant, man. But they don't do it there anymore. But we went and seen him, and he's one of his girlfriends was walking around the course with him, and she was selling merch out her bag man. I think they got fined and all that because they're not allowed to do it. It was a European Tour event. And they're not allowed to do that. So she was selling merch just to fans, man.
That's
out
where
her
you got
bag.
the idea from.
Fucking brilliant, man. Ever since then, it was just planted a seed. I was like, merch is the fucking way.
I watched a couple of YouTube videos about him last week, and as soon as I saw him, and I was aware of him, right? But I'd obviously, I don't follow golf, but I'd forgotten about him. As soon as I saw him, I thought, he'll be Neil's favourite golfer. He'll just, because he's just got that kind of wild man thing. But so I ended up reading about him, and it's like one of the ways he makes money now is actually through selling merch.
Aye, that's it. Merch is everybody will be selling. That's how we'll all be. Aye, that's how we'll all be making a living.
Well, that's how
soon,
you're going to fund the new Scotland. The new
next,
Scotland.
Aye, that's it, man. Next 5 years, we're going to be just everybody will be merched up. But he's when you go.
Well, I'm just going to say here's a free stand-up bit for you, Neil.
Okay.
For a sport that cares so much about handicaps, it's actually quite difficult for folk that have got a real handicap.
Where did you get that from?
I just made it up.
You just made that up.
Brilliant.
That's all right. That's all right.
Brilliant. Aye, it's good. Aye, it's a weird game. It's a weird fucking game, man. It's just a weird game.
So there's a couple of comments from Job and Knock podcast. So
what's his name?
He was named. He's heard me saying he was in the fucking utility room putting the washing on, right? He wasn't even fucking watching this, Neil. But he heard me say Job and Knock podcast, and just something like triggered in the back of his mind, and he's run through it and he's jumped into the comments. So he's going to put a couple of comments up. He says, haha, anything outside of your own borough is international since Brexit. I was actually more thinking about golf's a great game. See it, Cam? Golf's a great game, but it's the biggest mind fuck.
Oh, aye.
But then he corrected himself to mind.
Aye.
Oh, it
totally
a
is,
dangerous game. You're teeing off and the fairway's full of mines. And you've got to blow up the mines in order to be able to walk up the fairway to take your second shot.
That's where the handicap thing comes from.
Aye, so there's guys with one leg and all that, and half an arm trying to chip onto the green. And he does clarify, he says he's never fucked a mine. I mean, I think judging by what you've told me about him, with his massive cock with plenty of girth, he could probably get away with fucking a mine and come away unscathed.
It's a mind fuck, man. It'll fuck you up. It's a weird game. It's a real addictive game as well. Some guys lose their wife to it and all that. You know what I mean? Like some guys, it's like my middle boy will go out, and some days he'll play 72 holes in a day. So he'll walk like something like 30, 40,000 steps or something, and he'll go out and play in the morning, and then come back in, and then go back out. He'll have his lunch and then go back out. But he's trying to do. He set up his Instagram and all that, and he tried to just do
What's
content.
his Instagram? Give it a shout out.
Just Caleb Mick. I don't actually know the name. Just if you
Caleb MC.
Aye, Caleb MC. Caleb MCK 2008 or something. Hold on, let's see. Caleb MCK _ 2007.
Cam's frantically trying to bring it up on the screen. I can
So
see
it's on Instagram. He's got like his videos that he's been putting on, just that he makes when he goes out, just like
So
things.
shout that out again, Neil. Cam's
It's
going to load it up.
Caleb CALEB MCK _ 2007.
There we go.
It's brilliant being that age though, because you do get obsessions like that.
Oh,
So
I mean YouTube as well, man. He's been playing for a year. He's been playing for a year.
Right, there we go. So there's Caleb on the tee. Nice one.
So he's only started
Big in the
just
get
like
up as
doing
well,
these,
man. Is he tall?
Aye, well he's not tall. He's got he's not tall. He's got a thing, me, a mullet and that, and he wears his he's got Hawaiian shirts and that. He's got
yes, wee man.
So he's good, man. He's a
That's
good player.
A tidy shot there.
Yeah, he's a good player, man. He can beat me now, you know.
Guys, if you're watching this or listening to this later on, Caleb MCK _ 2007. Go and give the wee man a follow.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, all the amount. That's what I was saying before we come on. Like there's so many wood guys and construction guys who went and then followed him and then
nice
would like give him a thumbs up and all, and like his pictures, which was really quite nice of them, you know.
Good stuff. And you know, for all we're sort of criticising a lot of the stuff in the world just now, there has never been a time like now where young guys that have got a passion and an interest can showcase it to the world and get attention and a bit of feedback and a bit of support.
That's a brilliant bio. 13, don't know what handicap is. You could guess. I hit it far and swing big.
Fair play. Fair play.
He's funny, man. But no, man, that's it. Like that comedian guy, Paul Smith. Is it Paul Smith? It's Paul Smith, the comedian, the Liverpool guy. And it's all social media, and he's fucking brilliant. And he done it well because everybody would have seen the videos come up, you know, for the Hot Water Comedy Club. Everybody's seen them on Facebook, and you would watch them. And then he was the compare to MC, and then he just took off, and he sells out fucking like theaters now. Like he's a big deal, man. He's doing fucking brilliant, man.
Videos today, the behind the scenes of the tour he's on. So just search it up on YouTube when we're finished. Paul Smith comedy. Have a look at his channel. He's got some great behind the scenes of the tour that he's on around the UK at the minute. It's just dead interesting, and his banter with the audience is his warm up. So I thought it was part of his set. It's not. He just goes out and just starts chatting to folk in the audience, and then he introduces his support act, and he disappears, and then comes back for his main set. He's absolutely brilliant. Cam,
he's brilliant, man.
You see that screen there, Cam? Can you move that up the top so it's near my camera?
He's he's great. It's just but that's it. He just goes out and the crowd work's fucking brilliant, and then he just tells stories, man. He just goes into stories, and it doesn't need to be this set up punchline, which is everybody, and it's like you can see there's so many jokes being told. You're like, fucking hell, man, fucking hell, you know. But no, he's great, man. But all that was social media, so that's what I mean. Would you be able to do that fucking 5-10 years ago, you know, if you know what I mean?
Struggle because you'd have to be on the circuit for years. I mean, I was listening to Tim Dillon the other morning when I was out with the dog, and he was talking about how he'd met Norm Macdonald, and we need to go back to Norm Macdonald because we didn't do it last week, but he was talking about how he met Norm Macdonald when Tim Dillon was on Last Comic Standing, and I think Norm was one of the judges, and you get the chance to meet him and all that, and Macdonald had said to me, how long have you been doing comedy? And he says 4 years, and he's like, 4 years, that's nothing, you've got to be doing it at least 10 years. But I think that's not the case anymore, because you can create a following. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to be good, because there's a lot of shite comics out there that have got a big YouTube following, but you can create a following and get yourself bookings off the back of, you know, if you go to if you get yourself a wee shite agent and you want to get a booking, and the booking agent can say, he's got 25,000 followers on Instagram and 10,000 subs in his YouTube. Well, fucking hell, book him.
Aye,
You know what I mean?
that's
Because
it,
he's
man.
going to fill a room of 200 people.
Aye, that's it. It's like I don't know, man. I still think you need 10 years is, they say like 10,000 hours into it, to do like, to
To
get
get good.
good at any sort of thing. But what's 10,000 hours if you're doing? It might be 10 years if you're
I
doing
think
like
we'll need to be
comedy
doing this
stuff. I suppose.
podcast for 10 years to get good at it.
Aye, no, I think stuff.
Fuck.
Well, I always think about that when people say 10 years. So I'm just started to think when I actually started making furniture, which was like 2013, 2014, 2014, I think. So how long's that to now? That's like
8
what,
years.
6, 7, 8 years.
7 years.
7 years, aye. So say I started, but I still had a background in like joinery and nice joinery stuff, and then now I'm only able to do stuff that I can sell right now that can like on its own, you know what I mean?
Aye.
Like an actual thing that's a product that can sell. So I wouldn't have been able to do that any sooner than now, you know?
Aye.
And even now I probably another year or that's when it'll be
Yep.
like you know what I mean? You kinda know what you're doing kind of thing.
But it's interesting with this podcast. We are 11 episodes in, already internationally acclaimed.
Yes.
But that does come down to the fact that I've probably got 10,000 podcast hours under my belt. So
You
That
probably
kinda
do.
That kind of stuff always interests me, like the 10,000 hour thing, because it's specifically the learning curve. A learning
Yeah.
curve for something always is so I don't know why, but it's just so interesting to me, because you look at it and folk that are really, really good at it make it so fucking easy, or make it look so easy, and then you try it and you go, oh, Jesus
Aye.
Christ. Like, for
Yeah.
example, just the whole learning curve of learning how to actually build a table and what looks good on a table. I've got no idea about that whole
Aye.
setup. But
Well, that was the. On you go. Sorry. I cut
yeah,
you off.
but I do in other things. I do in like sort of how to use Photoshop, and the learning curve to that's
Aye.
quite steep. But it's just a whole. It's brilliant.
Aye, well, it's like I said that to somebody. I think I've said it a few times and I never can get it out right, but it's like if you've got taste and you want to make furniture,
Yeah.
you know, if you've got taste, you want to make furniture, you make it shit and then you give it up because you're like, fuck this, it's too
Yeah.
hard. But if you just keep going, you make something that you're like, oh, I like that and it looks good because you've got
Aye.
taste, you know. But
I heard
it's
you talking about that on the Job and Knock podcast. Is you were doing jobs cheap in
Aye.
order to learn how to do something.
Well,
and
it was
get at
just
least a
if
wee bit of
it
money
was
off
if
the back it to try
aye.
something new, maybe.
It was like a few. If sometimes you always get emails with people, and like, oh, I'm looking for this, and think you'd be able to do it, and I'm like, I'll look at it and I'm like, you're right, I'll do it, and it's cheap because you can't charge them. It takes you too long, you know. So like, that's the one that the last one I done was like 250 quid that I charged them, and I think the materials were like 100 quid, and it was like about 3 days work, you know. So I made fuck all money. I should have
Yeah.
just gave them the money for it, but it's good to. I suppose it's a good. I wouldn't do it now, man. I'm not doing that now because I
Aye.
actually can sell stuff now. You know what I mean? So kind of like it's like you get to
Aye.
that stage, but still another
obviously-
couple of years. But probably 10 years is probably about fine. I'd say in another 2 years if I would keep making what I'm making and then do that, you're 10 years and then you could sell stuff. I probably is right. It's fucking a
Aye.
long time, man.
Aye.
It's a long time though, isn't it, man, to do stuff to.
I think obviously once we've moved into the SMRE studio, you can bring your skills to that,
Aye.
and it'll be the
Aye.
best looking podcast studio on the internet.
Well, I think if you look at a lot of the podcast studios, none of them, the joiner work shite on all of them.
Aye, 'cause
Apart
it's
from like
funny, I
Joe
noticed the
Rogan's
microphones
ones.
and the audio. You notice the fit and
Aye,
finish.
is that, aye. I mean, Joe Rogan's is pretty good. That's all done up. He's got the nice table in it, but a lot of them are just quite shitey.
His table's amazing. There's no doubt about it. That's probably the.
He's got a good taste.
Aye. What was that in the background? Did you hear something?
Someone closing the door.
The front door.
I don't know actually. No, I think it's
It's
just
a
Grace Coat.
fucking.
Alright.
That's Nicola Sturgeon in. Don't
know.
you fucking talk about me, Mark, like that. I'm
you
not a
can't-
Nazi.
Howland's come out with a belter, by the way.
Right, go for it.
What's he saying?
What are you as a tractor with your 10,000 hours?
Because that's how tractors operate. It's not on miles; it's on how
Aye.
long they've
All
worked.
right.
Aye.
And then he also said that he says Neil that only took you 2 hours to become the king of merch.
Well, the merch is just that's a natural ability that comes to me with there.
Yep.
No, it takes a long time, man. It's fucking ages, man. I mean, how many hours? That's like what 1,000 hours a year for 10
Yeah,
years. That's a bit.
yeah.
1,000 hours is
it's less than
a
3
lot.
hours a day. It's less than
Aye.
3 hours a day when you think about it. So you're putting in two hours a day, say 2 and a bit hours a day,
Aye.
and that's you've got your
It's
1,000
the-
hours. So if you do 4 hours a day, you know,
Mhm.
and
Aye.
you can.
I
sit
don't know
and
if
do
it's
something
4
for
hours.
4 hours.
No, but I don't know. There'll be joiners on here, and I was talking to a guy the day, a guy I talked to on Instagram, one of my mates, and he was saying that I was asking him, I says, do you think it's a flex that joiners do when they have skills to do a lot of stuff, but they just choose not to do it? And they say, no, I'm cool. I'm just in my workshop doing this. And people come to you and then be like, man, you could fucking do this and set up this and have a few guys and get a few vans in the road. And then you're like, nah, I'm cool, man. I'll just do this. And people can't work it out. But I think that's
Yeah.
a flex in the joinery world. That if you can do a load of stuff,
Yeah.
it's a flex no doing it. And like no making money. It's a flex just like turning your back on money, which is
it's a
weird.
flex because you're kind of like Jesus in a way.
Well, I mean, there must be something that comes down to it. Like,
carpenter, he would have been good because he was perfect.
I mean,
so you can't imagine him making a shite table. The first time his stepdad took him to the workshop, Jesus was about it. He was like that over at the lathe. You know what I mean? Turning the
I mean,
table
maybe
legs.
it's like, I think they only say that he would be a joiner because his dad was a. That's it. Because his dad was a joiner.
Tradition.
Well, obviously Jesus looked at the material that his dad was using and went, you know, my real dad actually made that, actually created that. So I'm pretty much an international joiner as it stands already.
Intergalactic joiner.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Imagine what his merch would have been like. And you do get Jesus merch.
You get Jesus merch, you get candles and everything out there.
And they've got the gang sign, the cross that they do. That's the gang sign. I mean, I think if you think about it, Jesus was Jesus. I mean, Jesus packed it in at 30. He was like, I've had enough. You know what I mean? I'm too good. I need to give the other guys a chance. I'm going to hit the road, get myself a following. I'm going to get the band back together. Get my 12 boys.
Nobody's
get them all together and that. The Romans are going to fucking hate me. You know what I mean? And some of these Jewish cunts are going to be a bit like, oh, he's too controversial. But his tables were fucking on point. And those legs, you've never seen.
Nobody's seen an example of his work go. You know what I mean? There's no an example.
You would have thought folk back in Galilee, right, would have been like that. He's amazing. We need to preserve his work for the future generations. What the fuck happened to it? Did it all just get smashed up? Did it become?
Who knows?
What do you think Jesus' hourly rate was when he was out doing his inspirational talks and stuff like that?
A couple of loaves, a few fishes.
But because he was such a baller in the stocks, he could manipulate that and then produce $1 billion. Fucking shop.
I remember listening to a born again preacher guy spinning this fucking yarn about they were at some conference and they didn't have enough food to feed everybody at the conference. So they would go into the kitchen and the food was plated up and they would take it out, and then when they would go back in there would be more food there.
Oh, there you go.
And it's like so God did that, but he didn't do it while any of yous were in the room. For we actually see where you pick the 2 plates up and then miraculously 2 other full plates are right in front. It's like magicians when they've got to go inside the cabinet and the assistant's got to put the big black sheet in front of it. How do you know just shows what you're doing, mate? How do you know just shows? It's like the time David Copperfield walked through the Great Wall of China, the huge big white, just fucking shows us walking through the wall.
Aye.
It's a bit like that with God miraculously providing born again Christians with more plates of food. It's like, how did you just do it? Was there nobody there with a phone to film it for the gram?
He always it's always like it's always his people that he helps. It's always his people that he helps as well. You know what I mean? He doesn't help like people who are starving or people who are oppressed or anything like that. Fuck that.
Everybody says people. If you've forgotten the song for your childhood, he's got the whole world in his hand. So everybody's his people.
Right. I don't know. I honestly don't think he would have been a good joiner. I don't think he would have been.
Well, Rob Simpson disagrees in the comments, Neil, and he disagrees quite forcibly.
Oh,
Rob Simpson says, I imagine Jesus being the guy on site full of shit, bragging how good he is, but he's actually dreadful.
Aye, exactly what I think. Exactly. I think he'd be full of shit. He's just the guy with all the tools. You know, there's a guy on Instagram, right? And he has fucking every single Festo thing, right? He's like one of these Festo guys. I think Festo give him shit for nothing. And he's got every fucking festival thing you can have, right? And he's shown it, but all he fucking does is like landscaping, slabs, drainage. I'm like, why? Where is this guy's work that he keeps telling everybody he does this? Well, I've never seen the fucking work. It's all fucking slabbing and fucking landscaping and all that. I'm like, what the fuck? But fucking weird.
I'm the podcast
weird,
equivalent of that, Neil. as Howling Interiors can back up, because he get the wee tour earlier on and he's going, that's some amount of gear you've got there, man. And I use it to produce shite like this.
No,
But
no.
Jesus was a bit of a guru though. So,
lifestyle guru.
Aye, lifestyle. So
Didn't
I mean,
end well, but did it?
I think it's just I honestly think he was just the first guy to kind of find psychedelics of some sort, low level
Aye.
psychedelics, whatever. And then see the whole God talk when people are like, listen, mate, he was saying God's my dad and all that. My brother used to tell me that God was his dad and he knew who he was and all that, right? And he was on psychedelics. So it's just the same as that. And people took it a bit far. Let's write a book. Get a notepad, start writing down what he's fucking saying, you know? And then it just, look where we are now.
I remember talking to a guy who believed the Bible is literally the word of God, and getting his Bible off him and finding the first 5 books of it in the Bible, right? So it's like that thick on tissue paper, thin paper. And I went, the guy that wrote that was in the desert with fuck all. How the fuck did he write it? It's hard enough now to write stuff, isn't it? You've got laptops and notebooks and iPads and the notes in your phones, and getting the time to sit down. We've got all the technology in the world. It would take us ages to write all that. The guy that wrote all that, the first 5 books of the Bible, big fucking chunky books, a guy called Moses, he was in the wilderness, in the desert of fucking the Middle East.
Aye.
With nothing.
Aye.
With nothing. Apparently before paper was even invented. So how why does nobody take a step back and look at logic?
Oh, and there was no women involved in writing it either. Right. So,
Well, that's not technically true. Because there's books of, and again, this comes back to my issue with authority. It's like you've got the canon, the Bible canon, the 66 books that make it up, right? Who the fuck decided they were that was it? Who the fuck? Because there was other books, and some of them were written by women. The book of Esther apparently is one of them that was written by a woman called Esther. So how the fuck did that not get in the somebody somewhere? And then when you look into it, it was the early Roman Catholic Church. They got together, had a meeting, right, boys? We've got. Listen, there's a lot of folk asking for it. You know, they've been on the merch store going. When's the big book coming back into stock?
When we drop
the big book?
When's the new book drop?
The issue is there's too. We don't know what to put in it. We need the definitive canon. We need the definitive the Bible of Bibles, right? The Bible. That's where the word came. You know, you talk about the Bible of joinery, the Bible of golf. Like we're making the actual fucking Bible. How many books can we have in it? I don't know, about 68, 60. Nah, it's too long. Folk will give up after 66. 66 books. I think that'll be 66 books will be enough. Listen, Esther's been giving it that. Oh, is my book going to get it in? You know how folk feel about women. You can't have women. You can't have women writing stuff and folk, but they don't even know how to read. Women, they're not meant to go to school.
I think the main reason why there's no real books written by women is because we all saw what happened at the very start of the Bible with Eve, and after that they just sort of went nah. I think it's too much.
Not going to work.
Oh, I was talking to this snake, and the snake said it's fine to eat it. You were talking to a snake. God, can we get her taken up? Get her down to fucking.
The thing with all that, the stuff that because I like that time just when. Caesar was there, and then the Christianity came in. They changed the fucking calendar, man. And this is what I ask people. I'm like, they just changed it. Nobody says it. They just changed it. I kind of have a theory just through my own research. I mean, we can go into it another time, my actual theory, but just quickly.
Members only.
Yeah, members only. Quickly, what is rough is like basically, I'm kind of thinking that the Christians came in, and Caesar had a bit of an ego. He was he was running kind of the full place, but the Christians come in and says, listen, we've got this thing. If you want to come on board with us, right, we can let you run the whole, like you'll be a god, right? So he was kind of into that. And he says, I'll sign up for that. And then the whoever in the Christians, the deal maker, killed Caesar. And then they fucking took over, and he says, we're changing the calendar and all. Basically, that's kind of is, but there's more in depth. I have went in depth more in it, but basically that's kind of, I can't see another way to change a calendar, and just everybody's cool with it.
But then,
do you know what I mean?
You've got that ties in with your hypothesis that the powers that be are changing time.
Full circle.
You know, we've been on for 2 hours 24 minutes.
Jesus, again, man, fucking hell.
Actually, it's been 6 hours in real time.
I mean, that's it. It's like, I don't know, there's something going on about
You're
time
only
and
24.
calendars. What was that?
You're only 24.
Oh, man. I'd love to be 24, man. Fucking brilliant.
Howland's changed his name, so he's called himself Howland's Back now. And he's talking about, he's having another dig at me, right? I don't know what he's got against me, Neil. I don't know what he's got against me. First he's saying I'm Walter White and I'm dealing meth. He says the fucker has 10 grand of equipment from fellas buying him coffees. I wish. The way you get all this gear is you just never pay your bills. And the second you get money, you go, I'm going to buy that new camera.
It's just, it adds up. The money adds up and all that stuff. Like, I was looking for stuff that I need tool-wise and all that. It just adds up. It gets to the point, I think, fuck, is there any point? I could just use old tools that I've got. Fuck it. You know what I mean? It's just, I'll just use the old tools. It's fine. Gets to that point, it's just like, what's the point in this? Are we doing anything here? Why would I spend all this money in extra tools, you know?
Well, I've got here the wish list for the studio. Some of which can be used for the podcast. So buymeacoffee.com/SMRE, patreon.com/SMRE. Yeah, the Canon XF605, Neil.
Right, okay.
Canon XF605, brand new Canon camcorder. I'm not a massive fan of camcorders. I tend to go either DSLR or cinema camera, but this thing is the berries. It shoots in Canon C-Log 3, which is a huge benefit. A GVM motorized slider, I think that would look good. We could have that in the studio. One camera that just slides back and forward. So anytime it cuts to it, the camera is slowly moving across the scene. That'll look good. LED light tubes. So once you've built your amazing backdrop, we can light it with LED light tubes, kind of hidden out of sight. The Sigma 18-35 f1.8, which will give my shot a lovely bokeh in the background. Smoke machine. A smoke machine, Neil, for the studio. So before we go live, you turn the smoke machine on and basically creates a nice misty ambience in the background. A NAS RAID system, self-explanatory.
Right, aye, totally.
And a DTAP battery system for the cameras and other equipment, and a green screen. Now, I've got a tick next to the green screen because Mary very kindly bought me a green screen.
Beautiful.
A few weeks ago, which was very generous of her. So that's the wish list for the studio / podcast production house for this internationally renowned podcast. So to fund that and our studio space, patreon.com/SMRE. Get members only content starts at £3 a month plus VAT.
It's early days, man. It's just building up. It's been interesting getting up to 11 episodes and then just actually putting effort in and actually building up a thing, you know?
Fuck off. You speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. You know what I'm like before we go live. I'm fucking sweating, man. I'm sweating bullets that all of this is going to work. I've got Cam. I don't have a keyboard and mouse in front of me, so I've got Cam working in the background with the second monitor and all that all plugged in. And then you're like, I'll maybe start to make an effort.
It's I put on a black t-shirt every
Wednesday. You said,
you know, spray some deodorant. No, but it's interesting starting a thing and then putting everything in and then building it up and then more people listen or whatever and more people watch whatever and just seeing where it goes. You know, it's kind of an interesting thing to try. You know,
because
doing it live. Doing it live is pretty wild, but it's like you're on live for a long time just talking a lot of shit. You know what I mean?
With the first one we did, obviously we were sat in this room and the camera packed in after like an hour or something like that, right? So we've only got the first hour or so of that. But it was a different dynamic, and we've talked a lot about this. Like, you're in the same room, it's a completely different dynamic. The second one, we recorded it like this, but we didn't go live. And the third one, we went live. And But obviously, a big part of what we're doing is we want to have a laugh, right? Chat about stuff, have a bit of banter with the guys on the chat, which follows up into a bit of banter through the week on Instagram, etc. But it isn't. I personally don't find it particularly easy. I find it quite difficult.
Doing a
I
live
think,
thing.
live like this. I think once we got to the stage where we're doing them in person, I'll be able to relax. I don't know, maybe I won't, but I feel I might be able to relax a bit more. Last week was probably the most unhinged I've been. When I was watching it back, I was like, fucking hell, man. I was going off on one. But then you've had times where you've gone off on one and you're just like,
I can't even remember. See, I can't remember what I say unless I watch it back or listen to it. But I can't remember anything.
I've got to watch it again. In order for me to be able to clip it, I've got to be able to watch it. I mean, see the bit where last week we were talking about that guy that had been making the videos about cartoon characters, He-Man, and I made the comment, he looks like our faces melted together. I'd forgotten about that by the time we'd finished, and you sent me a message saying, "Aye, that bit was really funny," and I was like, "Oh, aye, that's right. That was near the start, wasn't it?" It's really, and I think if it was just we sat here and we fucking fired this out live or pre-recorded or whatever, and we just forgot about it, then that would be fine. But because there's this wee kind of cottage industry that we're trying to do here, we're getting the clips out and all that, it takes over your life. But it is for me the high point of my creative content week, because I'm making stuff for other cunts all week. I make this for me. This is for me, and the fact that it's a benefit to some of the guys that enjoy it, and folk like Don that email and going, when's it coming out? Because I'm looking forward to listening to it. That's a lovely perk. It's a lovely perk. And we make a joke about the money and all that kind of stuff. That's a lovely perk. We've not touched a penny of that. Anybody that's donated, we've not touched a penny. It's all still sitting in the buy me a coffee thing, because we're genuinely not doing it for that. We're doing it as a creative outlet, a chance to express ourselves, and everything else is a fucking bonus.
That's it, man. It's interesting.
It's good
just
you're starting to make
do.
a fucking effort now.
Okay, it's just interesting, isn't it? It's just a good. I don't know. I don't know why I'm interested in it. I don't know. But the live thing doesn't really bother me, man. I couldn't give a fuck what people say to you or that when you're on. It doesn't really bother me. I think being live in a thing would be even better in front of actual people. Aye, man. I think that would be fucking good fun.
I did it once. I was involved in a live podcast once in 2006 in Liverpool, and I might have mentioned it on with first members only. I really can't remember. We've created so many hours of content now. I can't remember if I've spoke to you about it in person or on a show. But I get invited to go down to Liverpool. There was a guy come over from Los Angeles. He was a podcaster, an early podcaster in America, and he was coming over he would get invited to come to Liverpool and do one of his shows live at a university. So I says I'll come down and watch it, and he says, do you want to be on it? And I was like, aye. So he had me on because he did a kind of wee chat show thing after he'd done his bit, and the videos might be out there. Maybe I'll look for them. It's probably the cringiest. If anybody watching this thought the videos and Neil and I for years ago were bad, this is worse. I was wearing a suit, right?
To go on a podcast, you were trying to get a date with the guy.
With no tie, right? I only had one button undone, not two. Two would have been cool. I only had one button undone, and white trainers. Not Converse.
Like and Robert Downey Jr. Do you think you were Robert?
Maybe I thought. Do you know what? I maybe thought I was. And basically, the guy that had arranged for this podcaster to do the show in Liverpool
told you no, fuck off. You're wearing that, mate. Get to fuck.
No, worse than that. We'd a dressing room and everything. It was fucking brilliant. The dressing room backstage and all that. No, he forgot to market it. So we were there, and my ex-wife was there, and the guy from America, his missus was there, and I was in the audience for the first bit. So there was the three of us, and it was coming close to showtime, and there was no other cunt there in this auditorium, this university auditorium. And then eventually like a couple came in, and then like three folk came in, and they kind of sat at random spots. There was, I think, 12 people in the auditorium by the time we went live. And
that's not bad. I mean, I don't think that's, I don't know, 12.
If you've come for Los Angeles, to Liverpool to do your podcast live, and the guy that had organised it forgot to market it. We arrived at the university, and on the campus there's these notice boards with shows that are coming up and all that kind of stuff. There was no mention, no posters, nothing about his show. And they could have made a bit of a thing about it, because it was a thing. The guys come from Los Angeles, and he didn't need to mention it was a podcast. He had a cool show he was doing. It was funny. It was dead interesting. And like I said, there was about 12 people, and one of them was me. And I ended up on the stage for the second half. And I told this shitey story about the TV license folk coming to the house.
That's ridiculous, by the way, that the guy forgot to fucking market it.
He seemed to have been so focused on the production, because the guy that had organised it, he was doing a university degree on like stage production. So he thought this will be good, because I'll stage produce it, I'll stage manage it, because there was lighting obviously to be done, dress the stage up and all that. So he must have been so focused on that, he forgot an audience is quite helpful.
I just think it's fucking hilarious. I kill myself laughing when I think of the situations you tell me that you were in, where like just being in these vulnerable situations where you're wearing a suit with fucking trainers and there's 12 people, 11 people in the audience. It's like I'd shoot myself. I'd fucking take my trousers off and hang myself with them, man.
What was really, really good about it was afterwards. So there was 2 other guys had a podcast called Top of the Pods, and it was a fucking brilliant podcast, Neil. Genuinely brilliant. It's not available anymore. But they would do top 5s, and it was just random stuff, top 5s, but they were funny as fuck. And it was dead innovative for the time. It was kind of like a wee radio segment, but it was a podcast, and it was done really, really well. So they were at it as well. They did a wee segment. They did a live Top of the Pods thing. So them and a couple of folk else, I can't remember who they were, all went back to the guy's house who'd set the whole thing up, and he had a bar built in a kind of shed thing in his garden, and we had a cracking night. It was such a fucking laugh. So for nothing else, it was worth it for that. We were all pissed. The next morning, we'd all stayed at the same hotel. We all got up, had our breakfast together. The banter was good, right? So it was worth it for all that. But the cringe element of being live in front of essentially an empty auditorium, and you're trying to perform was rough, man.
At least you experienced the whole empty auditoriums before COVID, though. That's a plus.
It's us, man. If we do it, we'll need to go into under 10,000 seats.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think I know we could do it. I've got a couple of venues where I could swing it. Because we've talked about this, that we will at some point do a live version of this podcast.
I would do a live version. We'll get a band. I've spoke to a band and all that, and they're cool to come on. They like that idea, so that'd be good, man. A band, and then I mean, we get carried away with ourselves, you know what I mean. But maybe we'll see how it goes. It should be good fun, you know.
Big, man.
That's it, man. You need to dream big. You know, I don't like to tell people though, because some people don't understand it. You know, I think you're a fucking idiot. You know.
They only need to watch this for 5 minutes to know we're both a couple of fucking idiots.
So anything else that goes after that, they do. Sometimes you think like that, though. You talk to people, you're like, we maybe go live and try and do a live thing and get a band in, and we'll have a laugh. And it might be, maybe if anybody's want to come up and do a few minutes or whatever, that might be quite good fun. And then you think people will maybe think, they've lost it, they're idiots, but they don't, because people understand, like, they don't know what they're talking about anyway. You know.
So a quick straw poll, right, of the guys in the chat. I don't know how many guys are in the chat just now. When we go to do this live, would you travel to come and see it? So let us know in the comments. Just hit Y on your keyboard, and we'll count up the Ys. Nobody said. There's a wee delay with the live actually, so we'll give them a second.
There's actually something I can do on the chat. You can create a poll in the chat.
Look, here we go. Cam's gonna do stuff. Yes, cool. Yes, Cam. Would you come to a live show?
That sounds naughty. Look at that comment near MB Carpentry. Original merch lord with the Jesus sandals. No.
Who the fuck's that? I've never seen their name on it before.
Never seen their name.
He's
never seen a name. They've watched for
the
full
fucking comment in 11 weeks. No.
11 weeks. 11
Guys, we just want to outline our dreams.
No.
Our dream is to do a live show. Would you come along and see us? Random cunt. No.
No, it's probably something.
Ban him! Ban him!
It's like a heckler in the chat, isn't it?
There's a heckler sitting silent at the back with his pint that he's been nursing for 3 hours, just glowering at us.
Oh.
Would you pay to come and see us, mate?
Just waiting.
MB Carpenter wants to know, will I have to wear a mask? No. Scott Porterfield, only if there's free merch. There won't be.
No, but there'll be a wee
free merch.
There'll be a wee table though.
There'll be a table,
a card table at the back.
Right,
so yes, 83% yes.
17%
no. Fuck you with your no. You're not invited. You're disinvited for the live show. You can get a refund in your ticket.
That's funny. That's good. Look at this tech we've got. Fucking polls, live polls, and all that. Fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
It's like a professional fucking production. That's what Mary's son said. He says, if I didn't know you, he'd said, I think you'd have a production team working on it.
Oh, there you go.
10,000 hours of practice, mate.
Do you think you've done 10,000 hours of podcasting?
No.
Many hours. Well, see, you've got how many hours do you think you've done?
If I could, it's probably there's maybe between 300 and 400 episodes of podcasts I've done. So even if they were an hour each, not even close. But then I suppose there's the pre and post production. So there's maybe I've maybe get about 600 hours under my belt. But see, when you're a natural, international podcast.
But who would have done 10,000 hours?
And he's like, listen, man, I didn't need 10,000 hours to perfect my carpentry. You don't need 10,000 hours.
But this is the thing. See, like how when they built everything way back after Jesus' time, I'm not talking about then, but even when they built all this shit that they built, right? And I know that labour was cheap and there's fuck all else to do. There was no internet. There was fuck all. So they just went to work. But they guys never like read books, you know, at lunchtime or listened to an audio book and say, they're just saying it's 10,000 hours, you know, just to get to that stage, you know, like they just done the fucking work. They never looked for like, they want to like saying to each other, oh, what do you think of this motivational quote? And then they would start telling each other quotes because they'd know where to post it. That never happened. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't a fucking thing. It's just right
storytellers. They were storytellers. That's how all of the fables and all that for the past came about. There would be the guy, and there'd be a guy sitting round where they were having their loaves and their fish for lunch, who would be the storyteller. And then the following week, there'd be a guy going, I've got a fucking better story than that, man. My great-grandfather was in the desert and he saw a bush that was on fire and fucking God started talking to him through the bush. Wait till I tell them that. Your grandfather's, you know, the guy that get taken away when you were 4. You never saw him again. But it was a fucking good story. It's a fucking good. He's giving all this. I walked across the Sea of Galilee on the water. Fucking my grandfather saw a fucking bush that was on fucking fire, and the bush wasn't getting destroyed, and God started speaking to him, and he went back and he became the leader of the free world.
That's it, man. That's it. But maybe that's what they've done instead. But I think the whole the motivation to get anything done is a strange time that we're in.
I think when it comes to motivation, everybody needs a motivator. Remember Mr. Motivator? The big guy with the leotard on, he'd be on the telly in the morning telling you to do star jumps and all that. We've got our own Mr. Motivator in the chat, and we refer to him as Howling Interiors. Howling Interiors says, do it at the same time as the Fringe Festival so we can go watch something funny after you. Now, if you don't find that to be personally motivating, Neil, I don't know what else we can do.
Me and Mark went and done a podcast at the Fringe.
Fuck off.
No, we did. We done it in a park.
SoundCloud after?
We done it in a park, and then we done it in. We ended up doing it in the car. We went to a pub, and it was Mark's mate, and he says, you do it in the pub and all that, we'll set you up a bit, and you can get in and you can do it. And because we had a guy coming in to do, as a baker guy to come in and do the podcast with us. He was like a guest. And Mark had this app that people, all these networking app. So Mark went on and says he's a podcaster, and then was network. He says, "Would you like to come on the show?" So we had a few people come on, which was fine. It was fine, but we went, and the guy was a fucking psychopath, and we never really went into
An
any
actual
deep stuff.
psychopath,
It
or
was
just a bit mental?
What's that?
Was he an actual psychopath or just a bit mental?
No, I think he was an actual psychopath. I think he was. Mark sent me a picture today, funnily enough, of him because it popped up on his thing, and then he searched for him to find him, like now, like all these years later, and he looks even worse. He's a psycho. It's just he was a weird guy. But no, we went in the pub because Mark's mate who was the pub manager of this chain, and says, "Oh, we've got you a space," and all. We went in, and it's fucking busy as fuck, and says to the barman, "Oh, we're here to do a podcast." And then he was like, "I just take that table up the back here, mate." It was like, "Oh shit, is it no quiet?" So we had that table. It's like people in having a pint and that, and we're like, "What fucking mic on the table and that?" And I don't think we stayed for long, man. I think we left it. That's maybe how we went and done it in the park. But aye, man, I think you could do well at the Fringe if you'd done a podcast, but maybe not. Maybe I'm fucking wrong.
I don't know, man. I think it's saturated. And I think a lot of folk will be there because of comics, for example, on podcasts. And if we were to turn up and go, we're doing a podcast, they would maybe expect something like have a word, or like the Paul Smith thing he does with his missus and all that. And it would maybe be a bit, it's us two and producer Cam sitting under a table.
It'd be pretty funny though. It'd be pretty funny, but it's the same thing as to see what you're comfortable with. We'll just keep going for as long as we could go, and just see if people still sit there and just till they get up. Because if they get up, we can shout at them and fucking call them
the fuck out of them
bastards.
Aye.
Pretty funny.
Right, man, we're going to wrap, man, because that's our longest one yet. That's
right,
2 hours 45.
Stick to this time then. If we stick to 2 hours 40, and then that's our limit then, or something like that. Fuck me, boys.
Scott Porterfield's called time on it. He is a producer now. He's a producer at Patreon. He says, "Fuck me, boys. Feature length stream the night. Fuck off."
That's it. Time flies when you're having fun.
He's got his work to get up for in the morning.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. He's missing.
Can I leave the?
I want to watch YouTube now.
Can I come off YouTube? Can I leave the people with something? Because I eventually got into Carol Young, what his name is, and it was just I've ended up going down a wee path to find out what he was all about and find out his stuff. So there was just a wee thing that popped up, and you can take it on board and think about it for the next week and report back. It's fishing for minnows standing on the back of a whale. It was just a Polynesian expression, and I think I should leave that with the fans of the show, and you can come back and report back to me next week.
Good. And then this time next week, you'll have that printed on the back of your hoodie in the merch store. Right, guys, cheers for watching.
Thanks very much. See you later on.
Says, laters, Mandem. See you next week, bloods. Cheers.
See you later.